It's time for TWiT This Week in Tech. We got a great panel. Jennifer Pattison Tuohy is here from The Verge. Abrar Al-Heeti from CNET, from Connect Safely. My old friend Larry Magid. We will talk about, well, many things. The new iPhone, for one. Amazon's revamped Echo may not have its intelligence built in. And a massive lawsuit to fine the national public data broker that leaked all our social security numbers. California wants $46,000. All that and more coming up on TWiT.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
This is TWiT, This Week in Tech, episode 1020, recorded Sunday, February 23rd, 2025. Smell my mouse. It's time for TWiT This Week in Tech, the show where we get together with the smartest, most interesting, and best-looking people in technology to talk about the week's news. Larry Magid, President and CEO of Connect Safely. Larry, you and I are the grandpas on this show.
Yeah, I must be either the smartest or the most interesting because I know I'm not the best looking.
Yeah, it wasn't all. Yeah. Nobody's all three.
Yeah, okay, good. Good to know. Yeah,
nice
I know it's been a while, Leo. Good,
yeah, it's
always
great
good
to have
see
you.
you. Yeah.
President of connectsafely.org, which is all about protecting families on the internet, and God knows they need it.
Oh,
thanks for joining us.
All.
Are you? Wait a minute. Are you wearing your Meta glasses?
I am wearing my Meta glasses, so be careful. I can take your picture.
Oh my goodness.
Gotcha.
You know, it's funny. They don't really look like, smart glasses. They look like normal spectacles.
That's what, actually, my wife thinks I look better in them than I do in my regular.
You do. You look smarter.
The problem is the battery only lasts 3 hours, so I have to constantly be putting them back on the charger.
Or buy 4 pairs.
That's a possibility.
Yes. Also with us, Abrar Al-Heeti from CNET. Always wonderful to have Abrar on.
You.
What's a weekend?
What is a weekend?
What is a weekend?
I gotta
on
work
a pillow
on
behind her. She's a technology reporter at CNET. So nice to see you, Abrar.
Good to see you too. Good to be on with that epic intro. I'm gonna enjoy.
Smartest. Well,
you got to guess which one. Yeah, no.
Smartest, cleverest, best looking. I think you got all three.
Yeah.
Very kind. Thank you.
Jennifer Pattison Tuohy is also here. Again, qualifies in all categories from The Verge. Hi, JPT.
Hello. Such a pleasure to be here too. Very excited for this. And we're already half an hour in, so we're all warmed up.
The pre-show, which will be released to the club, will be dynamite. By the way, I apologize. I didn't realize you were also going to be on Tech News Weekly this week, so we're kind of using a lot of your time. I thank you for being here.
Oh, I'm big fan. Always happy to be here. It's a real privilege and a pleasure.
Thank you. If Molly White were here, she would be talking about the largest ever crypto purchase theft. I guess theft is the word. Bybit, $1.4 billion in ETH-based tokens stolen. Attackers took control of what's called a hot wallet belonging to the Bybit cryptocurrency exchange. And once they took control, they moved $1.4 billion of tokens out. It's gone. Bybit CEO Ben Zhou confirmed the attack on Twitter. They actually, I have to say, they did the best one could with a bad situation. They've purchased now back, I think, almost 300 million tokens. No individual user, as far as I know, of Bybit got bit, so to speak. Bybit ETH multi-sig cold wallet just made a transfer to our warm wallet about an hour ago. This specific transaction was musked. That's interesting. I don't know what that verb means. All the signers saw the musked UI, which showed the correct address, and the URL was from @safe. However, the signing message. This is the kind of communication you want from a company when it's breached or hacked. Very specific information. He says, rest assured, all other cold wallets are secure. All withdrawals are normal. I will keep you guys posted.
Where did the money, whose pockets did it come from, though? Who lost the money?
What I gather, by the way, musked, according to Grok, in the context of the Bybit hack, refers to a transaction payload being obfuscated or spoofed. So it was spoofed. I don't know why they chose the name Musk, but maybe you can imagine. It sounds like it was from them. It was Bybit's own holdings.
Wow.
So that's a pretty big loss. It doesn't. And Joe also posts on X, Bybit is solvent even if this hack loss is not recovered. All of clients' assets are one-to-one backed. We can cover the loss.
Wow.
Now, let's hope that's true. This exceeds even the Mt. Gox theft many years ago. This is a big one. And it kind of is a good reminder that custodial wallets are not necessarily safe. You have to, really trust the security of the place you're storing your wallet with.
Yeah, they didn't really say what happened, right? That we don't know how.
It got musked.
I wonder how that compares. I mean, how could you? I don't imagine you could have ever stolen $1 billion from a bank.
From a bank, I know. That's what I was going to say.
Where could you steal $1 billion to? I mean,
it's amazing. Not even Goldfinger from Fort Knox was going to get $1 billion.
I know. It's amazing.
So, that might be not just the largest crypto heist ever. It's got to be the largest heist ever.
I mean, I don't know how much gold is in Fort Knox, but it wouldn't surprise me if it's not $1 billion.
Let me ask. How much gold is in Fort Knox?
In dollars.
In dollars. I don't know. Yeah, she might say tons or pounds.
Let me ask.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hey, Meta, how much gold in dollars is in Fort Knox?
I'm going to get my voice assistants going here.
Take Google.
Meta doesn't want to answer. Probably more than
this is a large number.
More than my boss, Mark Zuckerberg, has.
Actually, it's funny because there is this meme going around.
The exact amount of gold held in Fort Knox, the US bullion depository, is not publicly disclosed. However, it is reported that Fort Knox holds about 147 million ounces of gold, which is roughly 4,080 metric tons. This gold represents a significant portion of the United States gold reserves.
No kidding.
If you have more specific questions about gold reserves or Fort Knox, feel free to ask.
How much is that in US dollars? Now, the government only values it at $42.40 an ounce or something like that. But obviously, gold is more than $600 an ounce last time I checked. So,
I think your next episode will just be voice assistants talking to each other.
The perfect voice, JPT. You could be, for all I know, a voice assistant. Anyway,
all chattering away in the background. What did Meta say? Nothing?
Nothing. Didn't like the question.
Unfortunately, so the system I'm using is from B.Computer. We interviewed him on Wednesday on Intelligent Machines. And
how are you getting the sound into the mic? Are we hearing it through the speaker or that?
No, I have I have my iPhone. You know how you can put the iPhone on your computer screen? So it's that, and apparently it's also taking the sound. But she's also apparently very busy, so you'll hear the answer. Yeah, she'll get back to me.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a good point. I don't think, no armored car heist, no bank heist, nothing approaches $1.4 billion.
Well, because no one could physically move that. So once we get to technology, this is
bits
online.
Are light.
Bits are light, right?
Right.
Speed of light.
A heck of a getaway car to get away with $1 billion of anything.
Yeah.
The next Ocean's 11 movie is going to be very boring. It's just going to be people sitting at computers.
I'm in. That's the classic line, right? I'm in. Anyway, I think there's nothing more to say about it except now I should say that it's probably more convenient to have a custodial wallet, a wallet that's held by Bybit or Coinbase or whoever you do business with. But there's always that risk, and certainly a lot of people who had their coins at Mt. Gox lost quite a bit. I have a wallet that I keep locally. There's problems with that too, as people, longtime listeners will know. I forgot my password, and I have 7.85 Bitcoin just cooling their heels because I can't figure out how to get to them.
But how is that different than a bank account or an investment account? Isn't that essentially a custodial wallet? I mean, if you're
it is, yeah. I mean, if you think about it, we trust our banks, our stock brokerages, wherever we store our money. I mean, they don't have a pile of dollars in the vault.
I print out my statements because I want to have at least something that I can show.
You're so old school, Larry.
Well,
You're
no, but
so
it's all bits. How do I know that tomorrow the bits aren't going to all turn to zero?
Just because you put it in ink on a piece of paper doesn't make it less bitwise.
No, but at least I can show it. I can see. Look, I lost this much money.
I have it here.
I also printed out my Social Security statement, given what's going on.
Your money's not here, Mr. Magid. It's over there in the houses that were built. But
Exactly.
there's never been any money in the bank. It's just there is a that is a difference. I don't know if crypto banks have the same requirement, but regular banks have a requirement to hold some small percentage of their deposits in the bank.
Not
but
as
none
cash,
of them have.
though. As actual cash?
Yeah, I think so.
Really?
Am I wrong? Maybe not.
I don't know.
Sounds right. I think
It's changed quite a bit over the years.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was at one point a requirement. But there's also insurance. There's FDIC.
Yeah.
And so you remember the run on Silicon Valley Bank, and many of the account holders had more than the $250,000 insurance, but the government ended up making them whole.
Which they didn't have to.
They didn't have to, but they did for probably, too big to fail reasons. I doubt anybody's going to make Bybit whole. I don't think they have FDI insurance.
No FDI insurance there.
That could come. Maybe that's something Elon could make happen.
I don't know. I think it's all in flux. I mean, the president has talked about a strategic Bitcoin reserve, kind of like Fort Knox, but lighter.
on a thumb drive.
It can all fit on a thumb drive.
You can carry it in his pocket or with the nuclear codes in the football,
See, I think that reasonably should make people nervous. The reason there's gold in Fort Knox is because we used to be on a gold standard. We haven't been in years. And at the time, the idea was the government will back up. You could, in the old days, really old days, bring a dollar bill to the bank and they would exchange it for gold. Then it was silver. Then we got off the metal. And then, of course, for years, there have been conservatives who said, let's get back on the gold standard or the silver standard. I guess, what are you going to do with the gold? You had it, so keep it, I guess. By keeping it, they keep gold prices artificially raised, don't they? Mm-hmm. If they were to release those 14 million troy ounces or whatever it was, the price of gold would drop.
Although gold does have an intrinsic value. I mean, it is a
Nothing
useful
like
metal. Nothing like it's worth.
Face value.
Yeah, right. And diamonds, of course, are just totally lifted up.
Gold has an industrial value that is probably just a few dollars an ounce. Not. Let me see what the current price on gold is. Because
copper has a very high value these days.
Yeah, copper's very valuable.
Why if you own a Prius, you're in trouble because everybody wants to steal your catalytic converter.
It's actually one of the So gosh, I was off by a lot. Gold's almost $3,000 an ounce. I was off by an awful lot. That's why we got rid of, Trump's getting rid of the penny.
I actually agree with him on that one.
Oh, but wait.
Yeah.
There's a problem. First of all, pennies haven't been copper in a long time. There's zinc slugs made by one company, which has been lobbying for the preservation of the penny for years at pennies.org. This Americans for Common Sense. Get it? Yuck. They make the zinc. They make the zinc blanks. This is why they're lobbying for this, right? They make the zinc blanks. It's very popular. They have a monopoly that the pennies are made of, then a thin cladding of copper on top of it. Here's the problem with not making the penny. You eliminate the penny, that means there's demand on the next coin up, the nickel.
Yeah.
Pennies cost about 13 cents a cent to make. Nickels cost a lot more. So you're not saving the treasury any money by abandoning the penny. I mean, but you're going to end up probably costing more because people are going to go to nickels.
The funny thing, I was in Europe a few months ago, and I didn't bother converting any of my currency into euros. And I was there for 2 weeks and never missed having any cash at all. I mean, I didn't even use my phone. I use my phone for literally everything.
Yeah, same.
So
they're much more. I mean, we've got better here, but Apple Pay and Google Pay and everything. I mean, everywhere accepts it. in Europe,
Yeah.
whereas here there are still times. But also they got rid of a lot of coins in the UK, I remember, and no one really cared. It all worked out fine. It's kind of sad. I think it's sentimental, really. People feel attached to physical money, just like, with the issue of digital money being stolen. I mean, or printing out your bank accounts, have actually been able to hold physical money. And as it starts to go away, it's sort of almost like the beginning of the end.
I'm going to London on
dollar
Friday.
bills will be next, right?
When I go to
Who
London
uses
on
dollar
Friday, I
bills?
don't think I'll bother going to the ATM machine. The ATM. It's not an
Cash
ATM
point.
machine. An ATM.
Cash point
Cash point. Yeah.
in London.
So the only argument against going all digital, and I think Trump could actually do this, but the only argument against it is the only truly anonymous way to make a transaction is cash.
That's right.
We now know cryptocurrency, Bitcoin's not fully anonymous. It's more anonymous. It's not fully anonymous. It can be traced back to an address, a wallet. But that aside, why aren't we all digital? What are we making pieces of paper or zinc slugs that we use? I mean, we rarely use. Doesn't everybody have a jar full of coins that just are getting growing and growing and growing?
And then you take it to one of those machines and you put the coins in, and then the machine takes half of it.
Yeah. It takes a
This is your
chunk,
fee.
that's for sure. Yeah. And then
Yes.
spits out the things like Canadian pennies.
Well, and you don't even need pennies and cash for yard sales anymore because everyone takes Venmo.
It's all, yeah.
That was the last time you really needed it, was for farmers markets. Now the farmers markets will take Venmo.
And now marijuana is legal, so you don't even need it for drugs. I mean,
Well, not that
Someone was
drug.
gonna go there.
not that drug.
We still need it for other drugs.
Although actually, they don't take credit cards because it's federally still illegal.
You don't want MasterCard to come down on you.
Right.
Say, hey, what are you doing? So there are 240 billion pennies in circulation. That's about 700 pennies per person. Most of them in jars
Yeah, I've got my
or
share.
thrown out.
That's not very lucky.
Yeah, it's an old, Jewish superstition, I think, to throw pennies in the corner of a new office or new home. When we left the studio, there were pennies in the corners.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I actually dropped a penny the other day, and I really thought
Not worth picking it up.
Well, I figured the exercise. Well, it's good for me. I need
For the stretching.
But other than that, there was no other advantage. I probably earned more money on the interest on my savings account in the time it took me to pick up the penny.
I have a policy never to pick up anything under a quarter.
Oh, okay. You got standard.
Well, you're richer than I am, Lou.
And I don't want to bend over.
Save it for the next guy. That's what it is. You're just paying it forward. Yeah.
In other news, Apple has caved to the UK. We've talked in past shows about the United Kingdom Snoopers Charter, the Investigatory Powers Act, which the United Kingdom had decided. Apparently, it's not public, but rumor had it, and a number of news organizations confirmed it, had sent a letter to Apple saying, you must provide us with unencrypted access to anything stored on iCloud, including advanced data protection, which is end-to-end encrypted. Apple does not have the keys to that intentionally. They don't want to be able to respond to subpoenas from law enforcement and say, here's what's in Larry's iCloud. UK said not only are they going to require Apple, and presumably it leaked out about Apple, but presumably that's everybody else too. They could easily have sent the same letter to Google and Signal and a bunch of other people, but they said you must provide unencrypted access, a backdoor in effect, to this iCloud information, not just for UK citizens, but for everybody worldwide. Which, of course, raised the hackles of the U.S. Congress, and letters were exchanged, angry words were exchanged. Apple has decided to remove advanced data protection for UK users. We will never build a backdoor to user data, says Apple. It announced this on Friday. I don't know if it actually responds to what the UK is asking, because it still wants access to your information and mine. even though we're not in the UK.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering about. I think a lot of these, changes, although they might start in the UK or in the EU, tend to spread over here too. So I don't know where this is headed or what it's going to affect. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Apple says, we're gravely disappointed that the protections provided by ADP, the Advanced Data Protection, will not be available to our customers in the UK, given the continuing rise of data breaches and other threats to customer privacy. That's what ADP is in response to. ADP protects iCloud data with end-to-end encryption, which means data can only be decrypted by the user who owns it and only on their trusted devices. Bloomberg got the scoop, but a number of other journalistic entities also got the information. 2 weeks ago, the UK government had ordered Apple to build a backdoor into customer data globally.
What does that mean to people who travel, like Americans that go to the UK?
Well, they were saying even if the iCloud data is stored in the US, we want access to it, which is incredibly offensive.
So it means if I'm talking to somebody in the UK, then my data, I'm trying to figure out how this affects.
Well, ADP is for your data specifically, not your phone calls.
Yeah.
If you are using iMessage, right? It's on everybody's phone. If somebody in the UK's got it, then the UK authorities can get it. But the truth is,
I think iMessage is not included in this because that is.
Is it still end-to-end encrypted?
Like passwords, health data, payment information, and iMessage logs are staying end-to-end encrypted. It's iCloud file backups, photos, notes, and voice memos are among, and I'm reading from theverge.com, among the data types that will no longer be encrypted. So it's not, because in England they have, WhatsApp, there are several platforms that have end-to-end encryption. So an iCloud, iMessaging will stay, still has by default, that is in your iCloud is end-to-end encrypted by default, but it's this extra layer of your iCloud file backups, photos, notes, and voice memos, and other data types.
Storage, it's filing cabinet.
I should point this out. Have any of you turned on advanced data protection?
No. Yeah. So who's using it? And I think that's probably the government's argument is like, if the people that are using this are the ones that we want to get to the data. But obviously that's not,
it's not just criminals. It's also members of, it was intended originally for members of Congress.
Yeah.
It was intended for, people who need a higher level of security than Apple provides at its base. The problem for a lot of people is every single one of your Apple devices has to be upgraded to the latest version of the operating system to do this. That's what's stopping me. I have one device that is not upgraded. But also it takes away some capabilities. It's like Google did the same thing. They had a higher level of protection, which I never used because you had to have 2 hardware keys. It was all this rigmarole, but that's what it is. To be secure, you have to go through.
There's always payoffs for the security. You lose conveniences and some benefits. You see that throughout, like security cameras. If they're end-to-end encrypted, you lose access to things like person recognition or smart alerts because the more secure you are, the harder it is to add these extra features. But yeah, for the people that need it and want it, this is pretty bad news. And it's interesting that Apple did cave.
What's interesting is the law, the Investigatory Powers Act, forbids Apple from telling anybody that they got this notice. The law makes it illegal for companies to reveal when the government has made such an order, much less like our national security letters in the United States from the Patriot Act. So Apple is, in a way, admitting that this is true. What Bloomberg said is true. Yeah, we did get this notice. But I still think it doesn't go the full distance that the UK government is asking. In order to do that, I think Apple would have to withdraw from the UK and say, no, we're not going to do it at all. And you're not going to be able to buy any Apple products, which seems like an unlikely thing from Apple.
That'd be drastic, yeah.
They haven't withdrawn from China, which makes similar requirements. They did withdraw. Didn't they withdraw from Russia? I feel like they are not doing business in Russia. Although they have acceded to Russian government requests to take some apps off of the App Store.
Right.
So
well, I feel like their stance has always been, we follow the laws of the countries that we So, I mean, that's kind of a universal stance that they've always had. I mean, you can tell when they're unhappy about it, but, if you're doing business in that country, you follow the law of that country.
Which is why Google withdrew from China. Right?
Yeah.
Apple has, this is the latest, is Apple has significantly reduced its operations in Russia. They closed their headquarters and stopped selling new products directly in the country. But, and this is why they can accede to Russia requests, they still provide access to Apple Music, TV Plus, the App Store is active. And as a result, when Russia says you have to take those VPNs out of the App Store, they do. Or take down those, lately it was YouTube taking down videos that the government of Russia requested. Yeah, it's a difficult position if you're a multinational. I don't envy Apple in this. In fact, Apple, especially since the ascension of the Trump administration, has got to deal with every country, including the United States, delicately. Very delicately. Tim Cook's very good. He's very diplomatic. He's managed, for instance, to keep tariffs from biting into iPhone profits. But that may not continue. So this, all I can say is I don't, not that anybody's ever offered me a job like that, but I can't imagine being the CEO of a multinational these days and all the different governmental requirements and requests. I think that Apple caving in this request is the smallest caving it could do. Okay, fine. No ADP if you're in the UK. I don't think it fully complies with the UK's request. So, balls in the UK's court. Maybe they'll all save face by just saying, oh, good, thank you, and leave it at that.
It is amazing how political everything has become, including, running a tech company.
Yeah, it's hard to do business these days, although business has always complained about regulation. And I think we're in an environment where regulation will not be as,
stringent.
What's the word?
Stringent.
Omnipresent. Stringent. That's a good word. What does stringent have to do with astringent? No one
Ask your
knows.
watch. I don't know. He's smarter than I am.
Maggie. I named it Maggie because it sounds a little like Maggie Smith. Although you're right, it's more like Helen Mirren. Yeah, I should call her Helen. Apple has added priority notification support. You had this story, JPT, for robot vacs.
So
in 18.4.
Yes, we have. Well, there's lots of new exciting things in iOS 18.4 beta, which just dropped on Friday. Apple's a bit behind the ball. That's kind of unusual, I think, for Friday. But I'm sure most people in the chat and everyone listening is far more interested in priority notifications. But I'm really interested in robot vacuums.
Oh, me too.
Being a smart home reporter, this is something we've been waiting for. Apple promised.
Wait a minute, it didn't support robot vacuums before?
Apple Home has not supported robot vacuums directly. There is Siri shortcuts is one way you can control some robot vacuums using Siri on your phone, but not on your Apple HomePods and such. And this is one of the big things that people have been excited about Apple joining Matter, or Apple creating or helping create Matter, because Matter was supposed to bring new device types to the Apple Home app. Because Apple has been relatively slow in adding new device types, support for new smart home device types in Apple Home since Apple Home launched. And robot vacuums was sort of a glaring missing one because that's one of the more popular smart home devices alongside cameras, which are still not part of Matter, but obviously Apple supports cameras through its HomeKit secure video, and some other ways you can use cameras in Apple Home. But robot vacuums, everyone was looking forward to. They announced at WWDC that it would be coming this year, as in 2024. But like a lot of the things in iOS 18, it got delayed, and we were expecting it in 18.3. There was some hints in the code that it was coming, but hadn't arrived yet. And then 18.4, we got Friday, and one intrepid smart home reviewer managed to. I haven't downloaded the beta yet. I'm not a dev beta. I'm more of a public beta gal because I don't want my house to fall apart.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
But he managed to download it and get it going on the SwitchBot S10, which is a very fun robot vacuum that I have in my house. And that SwitchBot is a great company. They've been sort of on the Matter bandwagon. They added support for robot vacuums a while back, so Matter helps add robot vacuums to all the smart home platforms, but most smart home platforms had supported robot vacuums before. This is big news if you use Apple Home. So it basically now allows you to not have to use your robot vacuum app for most things. If you just want to start, stop, change type from vacuum to mop or strength or dock your robot. But in theory, the whole point of the smart home isn't necessarily pulling out your app to control things. Now you can add your robot into routines. So for example, when you go to bed, your good night routine could include starting your robot vacuum downstairs, or when you leave the house, it could include starting your robot vacuum when you leave the house, then ending your robot vacuum when you arrive home so that it's not running when you get there. So it's got, and you can do these things already in some of the robot vacuum apps themselves, but this way, it's all inside the Apple ecosystem. And it also brings local control, which one thing I think a lot of people are interested in who are sort of more into the local side of the smart home is to see whether you'd be able to use your robot vacuum without having to rely on a connection with the internet. I don't know if that's going to be possible, but it'll be interesting to see what kind of function and capability you'd have, because a lot of these robot vacuums there've been quite a few sort of security issues or scares around robot vacuums
because they map
homes.
your house.
They map your house. They have cameras.
Yeah.
Most of them are made in China, and most of them are Chinese manufacturers.
At some point, there were pictures surfaced of a guy on the toilet that the robot vacuum
I was going to say
that was actually Roomba.
That was Roomba.
Yeah, it's the only device in my house, the only camera that has access to my bedroom and bathroom is the robot. It's the vacuum cleaner. We don't have any other cameras in bedrooms and bathrooms in the
So
house.
there's privacy, there's internet, but I think also for most just users, the idea that you don't have a different app for every single device,
yes.
and in many cases a different hub for every single device. If you could have a single hub and a single app, you could maybe even use Apple shortcuts to script it, and that's how it would know that you're not home. The robot vac doesn't know you're not home, but your phone does. Or your cameras might. There are other devices that might know. If that kind of integration, I think, is necessary before the home really is smart, instead of just a bunch of individual devices doing their own thing.
Right, the way they work together with the things in your home, so that ultimately, your home can respond to you as opposed to you dictating to it what needs to be done. And robot vacuums really are useful devices. Yes, you can get out a vacuum and do it yourself, but who loves to vacuum? There aren't many people.
No. But I found that even after having a Roomba for some time, I still had to vacuum. Like the Roomba wasn't,
but not as
100%.
often.
This is an interesting segue. I don't know if you guys. I just reviewed the newest Roomba, the 10 Max, which is this like $1,400 vacuum cleaner.
Jeez Louise.
And they are very expensive now. You can get cheap ones though.
Oh yeah, you get cheap ones. But the fact is that it's fun and it's useful. But I have a $300 Dyson, which does a better job picking up dirt. This $1,400 Roomba.
So what is this?
Well, they don't have.
By the way,
power.
I see you can get it at iRobot now for $8.99.
Yeah.
Instead of
Oh wow, it's down to $8.99. That's amazing.
They probably realized nobody was going to spend twice that.
They dropped it.
This thing washes as well as vacuuming. It
does wash, kind of.
Well, this one, it has a little bit of a mop. There are some very moppy ones out there, though. The Roombas, they just added mops quite recently, but like the ones from Roborock and Ecovacs and SwitchBot have big, like, oscillating mops that look like the mops you might actually use yourself, as opposed to the Roomba, which has this teeny little
rollers underneath it. Yeah, it's not.
But some of the Robo vacuums now have very good mopping capabilities, much better. But again, not going to be as good as doing it yourself.
I don't trust a robot to mop my floor. I feel like that's something that requires a little bit more attention than just some machine.
Yeah.
Oh, well, they do a good job.
What about, do you have pets?
I do. I have cats and a dog.
What about react to your machines?
So you worried about pet messes. So most of them now have artificial, they have AI obstacle avoidance. So they've been trained on specific obstacles they're going to find in your house.
Okay. Yeah. So hot dog or not hot dog. They
right.
know.
And they know. So it's very funny because the Roomba is actually one of the better ones at this. So it can identify the difference between a pile of popcorn and a pile of poop. So which one would you want it to suck
is
up?
Is there anything it can't do?
Exactly. So would you want it to suck up the popcorn? Yes, probably.
Yes.
Would you want it to avoid? And it's very careful. It gives the poop a wide berth. Yeah. Whereas if it finds something like a cable or a shoe, it will get up closer. Because those are things it can recognize. It will get up closer. There's actually a new robot that just came out at CES that has an arm that will pick up.
I saw that pick up socks.
Nice.
Socks.
That's so dopey. Does it work?
Well, I saw
What's
it in action.
What's it do with the socks? Throw it behind it?
So
Where's it putting them? Does it walk over to the bin?
You can tell it where to put it. So in theory, it can take all the socks and put them in a basket. And then there was another one that was on show that can actually lift up shoes, and it will go and put, you can tell it to put the shoes by the front door. Or you could even get to the point where it can identify shoes, and you can tell it which, okay, these are my son's shoes, so go put it in my son's room.
So Christian, who's watching on YouTube, points out that while I am a big fan of AI and I feel like AGI is just around the corner, I won't trust a robot vacuum. I think there are things, mainly my attitude, Benito, you'll confirm this, our producer and I were talking, is that I like AI in conjunction with humans. I don't really trust, especially AI that has agency, like a robot vacuum. I don't really trust it to always do the right thing. And it only needs to try to clean up poop once.
Yeah.
For it to be a disaster.
Roomba has its poop promise, its pet owner's promise that if it does accidentally clean up pet poop, they will give you a new one. But also,
hilarity will ensue if it picks up the pet poop and puts it where your shoes go.
I hope you don't send it in.
That would be problematic.
It is, and this is sort of the beginning of, and we've seen some reports of Apple and Google in the last few months, working on robots, humanoid-style robots for the home. I mean, really, a robotic vacuum is the beginning, is the foundation of what we're going to see when it comes to.
It's the low-hanging fruit in
I want one that can empty the dishwasher for me.
Yeah. Dishes.
Well, I mean,
It's pretty tall.
Yeah.
We are so freaking lazy.
No, it is true. Since I got
we spend thousands of dollars so we don't have to empty the dishwasher.
It's such a hassle. I don't know why. Honestly, I actually enjoy vacuuming, so I'd be okay bypassing.
Yeah, I don't mind a little tidying.
I think it's satisfying. You're like, oh wow, it was.
You got something done.
And you hear it as it's that's the weird things. It's the weird ASMR angle of it. But but doing the dishes is not I guess I have a dishwasher, but loading and unloading it, a pain in the butt. Why? I don't know, but it is.
Well, a dishwasher is a robot, so
there you go.
I guess
we have an arm now, and then
it's a simple robot.
Yeah, but it's the next level.
Is a washing machine a robot?
Yeah, I mean it's a device that is a mechanical device that is cleaning our clothes for us. Like the dishwasher is a mechanical, device that's cleaning our dishes for us. But the next it doesn't have the intelligence. Although some dishwashers and washing machines now are smart and will
they know
adapt how to clean.
My mom does a washing machine with AI.
And honestly, I think those purposes, like single-purpose robotic devices, make much more sense to me than like a Rosie the robot. Although the dream, the ideal, what a lot of companies are working towards is this humanoid robotic figure that will kind of do everything for you in your home. But that's mildly terrifying. Seems like very, very far away, incredibly expensive when and if it ever arrives. Whereas having devices that can help make chores easier or help save you time, just I love the Flintstones. Flintstones and the Jetsons. These are. You see, this is what the people that are developing these are all grew up on. So
that's the problem right there. That's exactly the problem.
Would you call a Tesla with full self-driving a robot?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what is a robot? So I think sometimes we think of a robot as humanoid. But it doesn't need to be.
No. In fact, that was a breakthrough from Roomba. When they first started Roomba, that was one of their breakthroughs, is we don't need our robot to look like a human. We just need it to be designed to do it.
In fact, it's a mistake to make a robot bipedal unless that robot needs to open a door or
climb
walk
stairs.
upstairs.
I mean, the Roomba does not.
Yeah.
There is one. There's something called MyGo. I'm not mistaken. You might know, Jennifer. There is a robot that was shown that will climb stairs.
So, well, there's the dreamy one will climb one step, but there is one that, it's not great.
Right. He gets one step up and then just stops.
I had to
and hangs
carry
there.
my
so
Roomba
that's
all the way
more
up my staircase.
It's for like, the houses that have like a transition or something. It's to help.
But you know what? If you can do one
the
step,
ascender stair
it
climbing
should just stop and then do the next step. It's all one step all the way
The
up.
funny thing is, I actually did carry my Roomba upstairs to do my upstairs today, and I can't remember whether it's upstairs or downstairs, like where it is right now. The only thing I know is it won't fall down the stairs.
If you had
They're
Matter,
quite good at that.
you could press a button, it would play the da-da-da-da-da sound, and you'd know where it was.
Say where it is. Yeah.
Last time I picked up a Roomba and positioned it, I positioned it underneath my wife's tire in the garage, hoping she would back over it.
Oh, so can you see this? This
Not
is
a
so
fan
common.
then.
This message. This is
Clear
my gripe.
robot. It's saying clear a path. Check for items. What? Can't pick up the socks? What?
I don't know, and that's
It's
what
stuck.
bothers me. Is
Well,
the
there's a
amount of-
locate button. Press the locate button.
Is there a locate button? No, there is. Well, boom. See what happens. What bothers me is I do have to intervene. I have to intervene pretty often.
Yeah, me
And,
too.
Well,
if I'm
that's
gonna
the point of the arm. less needed for.
If it can only pick itself up and move it up the stairs.
I never have to intervene with my Dyson. I just carry it around with me, and
But you're doing it. That's the difference.
right.
That's why you don't have to intervene.
But Larry, do you have to intervene with your Tesla full self-driving?
I was going to say
Rarely.
that analogy.
Once in a while.
It's different levels of robotics, I guess, if that's how we're going to talk about it. Because the Tesla isn't a robo vehicle. Technically, it can't be done with that, right? But it's like some level of automation. So I guess we just have different tiers of.
Well, we were talking about the Waymo earlier. You've ridden the Waymo.
Yeah.
Is that a robot then?
It is, because it's not like level 5 autonomy, but it's still, you're able to get in the vehicle. You don't have to intervene in any way. It drives itself. All you do is get in, get out, and like start a ride. So that's like, the next level of autonomy.
and,
But what we don't know-
no one has to be in it. It'll come pick you up. And that's
But what we
pure
don't
robotics.
know, and has never been really fully revealed, is how often it phones home and gets a human driver at the office to handle it. And we know that happens, and it may even happen more than anybody's admitting.
Yeah.
There are human drivers back at the home office.
That are manipulating it through a joystick or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like drone pilots.
Long road ahead.
I asked my B computer to tell me when it was time for a break, and it neglected to, so I better do it myself. It's time for a break, Leo. We have a great panel. I thought we would. Jennifer Pattison Tuohy is here from The Verge, Larry Magid from Connect Safely, and from CNET, the wonderful Abrar, Al-Heeti, all three of you. So good to have you. Thank you for joining us. Our show today brought to you by ExpressVPN, my favorite VPN. Going online without ExpressVPN is like, I don't know, leaving your laptop unattended at the coffee shop where you go to the bathroom. If you're in Tokyo, that's fine. But what if one day you come out of the bathroom and your laptop's gone, right? Why does everyone need ExpressVPN? Well, every time you connect to an unencrypted network, cafes, the airport, hotels, your online data isn't secure. Any hacker on the same network can not only see what you're doing, but can access your device and steal your personal data. It doesn't take a lot of knowledge to hack someone, just some cheap hardware like the Wi-Fi Pineapple. And your data is valuable. There's a lot of incentive for hackers to steal it. They can make up to $1,000 per person selling your personal info on the dark web. ExpressVPN stops hackers from stealing your data by creating a secure, encrypted tunnel between your device and the outside world. ExpressVPN is the one I use. It's the best VPN out there. It's the only one I recommend. They're committed to keeping your privacy private. I use it when I travel. Just did when I went down to Tucson. It was really nice. Why is ExpressVPN the best? Super secure. It'd take a hacker with a supercomputer over 1 billion years to get past ExpressVPN's encryption. It's easy to use. You just fire up the app, and then you're protected. Big button on it. I love that. and it's on every device, iPhones, Android phones, laptops, tablets, and more, so you can stay private on the go. And it's rated #1 by top tech reviewers at, well, CNET and The Verge. It's the only one I use. Secure your online data today by visiting expressvpn.com/twit. That's expressvpn.com/twit. Right now, get an extra 4 months free when you buy a 2-year package. expressvpn.com/twit. Let's see what else is happening. Oh, I meant to mention the 18.4. You mentioned that the beta is out, the developer beta. Adds nice support for robot vacuums. But Siri is still a moron.
Yes, Siri is still sad. Yeah.
Sad Siri.
Sad Siri. A lot of things that were announced in WWDC about how Siri would be able to use context, and Apple Intelligence would be able to kind of use the interaction between different apps on our phone. So like you could say something like, oh, what time am I supposed to pick up mum from the airport? And it would be able to go through your text messages and figure out who mum was and which airport it was from and what time she said she was going to be there, and then pull up the map and send you your route and what time you need to leave, all this kind of smart stuff that they promised us with Apple Intelligence, which right now has not arrived. It was supposed to arrive at the end of last year, I think, was the original sort of idea and hope. And now, although they never were really specific, they were like, there'll be lots of great new features coming to Siri in the future. And there was just a line at the end of the press release that came out this week about iOS 18.4, which was mainly focused on the Vision Pro, because that's finally got Apple Intelligence, that said, and we'll be bringing more to Siri soon. Soon. That was it. Soon. So, yeah, and that's something I'm really looking forward to, is a smarter Siri, because it has, in the smart home in particular, fallen behind. It's always been behind. And this is an area that there's so much opportunity, especially with the context that Apple has, where other voice assistants in the smart home don't have that. I understand it's complicated and difficult what they're trying to do. So I'm guessing the reason we're seeing delays is that things right now, as you add artificial intelligence, generative AI into the home environment, you start to really hit some major roadblocks. And we've seen Amazon and Google also having delays in bringing this type of intelligence to our home. So be interesting to see. I mean, what do you guys want a smarter Siri for? What do you feel like we need?
It's interesting. It also brings up some privacy issues. So, for example, one of the things I love about ChatGPT is one of the things I hate about ChatGPT. I can go in. I recently... What was it? I had some kind of medical question, and I asked it. And it actually gave me the answer based on what it knows about my medical situation. Well, because you take this drug, it knows about this. Because at one point, a long time ago, I asked it about a certain drug. And so it has a complete dossier on me, which is incredibly useful, but incredibly creepy. And the same thing is true. I mean, okay, so yeah, it knows.
So you got to get over that, is my position, because if you want an AI to be useful, it does need to know what drugs everything. You take, right?
But isn't that a challenge for Apple? Because that means somewhere on the server, unless they can do it on the device, but you want it across devices, you want it on your Mac, your iPhone, your iPad. So somewhere on a server, it has to know about what time your mom's flying in, where she's flying from, what time she went to the bathroom in the airplane. I mean,
do you remember... For a while, Google had this interface with cards, and it would know things like that because it would know about your calendar and would pop up your airplane tickets.
Right.
And it would, you're going to work, it would pop up traffic conditions. And they stopped doing that. And I think it was because people were, now this was quite a few years ago, this maybe 8 years ago, people got creeped out by it.
Right.
I understand Apple's reluctance because they're the privacy company. But it's always been my contention that's going to hold Apple back from a useful AI.
Yeah, I think especially with where Android has been headed with things like Gemini. I mean, if you get, any Android device these days, you're going to have a Gemini that's very deeply integrated into all of your tasks and routines. And you'll see the Samsung devices have that Now Brief where you're going to know what your traffic conditions are going to be when you're leaving the house, because it's looking at your calendar and it's looking at all the stuff that you do on your phone and going to try to suggest things that are helpful. And I was I tend to be kind of cautious around AI because it's creepy, but as I've been kind of diving into, testing more devices, and that includes things like Gemini because it's just so baked into, any Android phone these days, you start to realize how helpful it is. And so I think once you get over the creepy factor, you think, okay, I actually have become quite reliant. And like my Google Home speaker has not been upgraded to Gemini. It's still the Google Assistant. And I feel like it's the dumbest thing like I've ever interacted with because it just doesn't know anything. Like it doesn't know context. It gives me really terrible answers.
Yeah.
I tried, it still has a really hard time connecting to my, smart TV, even though it shouldn't, I have to restart it all the time. But anyway, I just think, I personally have been on this journey of getting over the creepy factor of AI and just embracing it for what it is, where if you do want it to be helpful, you just kind of got to let go of privacy. We haven't had privacy in a while anyway, so might as well.
Oh God, there are people though who are cringing as
this
you
is
say
where
that.
Apple has the advantage, though, if they can make this work in this. And sorry, I'm bringing it back to the smart home, but because Apple already has, and Apple has a foothold in the smart home already that is focused on local and private. And the difference being, if you add in generative AI, you need the model, so you need the cloud. But if they can manage to connect a smarter Siri with the smart home and your context, but keep all of that, the context that it has about you on the phone, but keep it all within your devices in your home, like using your Apple TV, which is a hub for the Apple Home, or a HomePod. And, they have the ability to do some of this and still keep it on a local level. And this is, again, what Matter's helping with, because that is all local connections between devices. And I think that's sort of a holy grail for them. I think they're going to potentially, and we've already seen them do this with Apple Intelligence, offer two levels. Like you've got your local Apple Intelligence, and then you can go out to ChatGPT, or you can go out to, the rumor is now Gemini is coming next as the option on your iPhone when you talk to.
Well, that's Apple punting, isn't it? When Apple
Right.
says, "Oh, I don't know, you want to use ChatGPT? They're going to know everything about you." And I'm sure they'll have the same warning with Gemini. That's Apple saying. It's funny because Siri was apparently smarter back in the day when it would say, "Well, I don't know, but here's what I found on the web about this," right? That was Siri's stock response. Now it makes up stuff. John Gruber and another blogger whose name escapes me, I apologize, asked the new Siri, who won all of the Super Bowls. They even went through Super Bowl 60, which is in the future. And it only got about 5 or 6 right. And the rest, it was just wrong. In the past, it would have said, "I don't know, but here's what's on the web," which would have been a better, frankly, a more accurate response. Yeah. So I think Apple, if you ask me, that's why you're not getting the promised smarter Siri in 18.4. Incidentally, it's not just Apple. Amazon has an event on Wednesday. They're going to announce new Echoes, but there won't be any new hardware. They were going to make that event be all about the intelligent, I can't say the A word Pro. I don't want to trigger people's Echoes. And they had a meeting on Valentine's Day last week and apparently decided, it's not ready yet. It was answering things wrong. It was, here's the Washington Post story. Amazon's new Echo delayed again over incorrect answers.
It's interesting.
So I think they will announce it. It's just the delay is we probably won't get it.
They'll announce it and they'll say coming soon.
Which is what they did over a year ago, because they actually announced the revamped smarter Amazon A lady in 2023 in the fall. And they kept saying it was coming. It kept getting delayed. And we've had lots of reports from Bloomberg and Reuters and the Washington Post talking to people inside Amazon who say this is this meshing of the existing voice assistants that we have in our homes and on our devices and the generative AI powered LLM models they can't, apparently the new Amazon voice assistant can't do things that the old one can, like turn on lights reliably.
Same problem. Yep.
Because they're not able, they're struggling, the reports are, to mesh the existing capabilities with these enhanced capabilities. So it's going to be interesting. I think we're going to get something on Wednesday, which I'm going to be there. I'm excited.
Good. Panos Panay. You'll get to see his debut as an Amazon employee. He was, of course, the guy who famously was always pumped about the new Surface from Microsoft. He left Microsoft probably, I'm imagining, because he was a little dissatisfied what he was getting to do there, and is now in charge of hardware at Amazon. So this is his debut, isn't it? Right?
They had new Kindles. They did a little event last year at the end of last year for Kindles, but this is his first big one. Yeah, this is the press. It's a press event, and I don't think they're
not
live
streaming.
it.
Otherwise, we would cover it. I would like to cover it.
Yeah, so it's, this is his first big show. And he's most likely the reason that this has been delayed because, he's coming in, this is his first big thing, even though it started long before him. I think we will get a new Echo device. So we will get new hardware. I'm fairly certain. We haven't seen an update to the original Echo smart speaker since 2020. So it's long overdue. And it would make sense that they would debut the new or launch, because they've already debuted, the new Alexa, or the remarkable Alexa, as it is reportedly known as, with some kind of hardware, because although it is going to work, they've said, on all previous Echo devices. So I think we'll get some hardware. I'm thinking, my guess, we're going to get maybe glasses and earbuds too. Because I don't think they want this to just be in the house. I think they're going to want this.
Meta's doing very well with its Ray-Ban.
Smart glasses are very popular right now. And Amazon has the Echo frames, so they have
That's right.
And they have earbuds.
They have earbuds, but the earbuds haven't been updated in a long time.
They're not that smart. They're
No, but I think this will be a big push to take Alexa out of the home, which they've tried to do for a long time, but not successfully. And so I think we could see glasses, we could see new buds. We'll almost certainly see a new speaker. But whether this is the real new Alexa or whether we'll get sort of what we're getting with Siri, like incremental upgrades, and we're seeing this with Google too, on the Google Nest devices in the home. It's got a little better, but still not at the level that none of these companies are quite ready to unleash this into our homes yet.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of our sponsors at Connect Safely is Amazon Kids. And speaking of the home, one thing many homes have are kids. And I think that they are way ahead of Google and Apple when it comes to products aimed at children, including a robot. We're talking about a robot, the Astro, which is a robot aimed at children. Not aimed at children, but children.
My kids loved it.
Yeah. Okay.
But they're older.
Yeah. But so I think that Amazon is going to have a very interesting opportunity when it comes to home automation in general. The other thing it knows is what you buy. I actually recently, this week, reviewed some personal finance management programs, and one of the things I did is figured out where I'm spending my money, and I was shocked how much money I spent on Amazon. I knew it was a lot, but I had no idea how much it was. And the point is that it knows about many of the things I have in my home because that's where I got them, whether they're from Amazon or a third party. And I think that they could figure out ways to integrate all this stuff, without having to ask you questions.
It won't be the first time poor Panos Panay has been blindsided by the company he works for. I think this is one of the reasons he left Microsoft. At the Microsoft Build conference in 2023, he was scheduled to do a keynote about AI. And Satya Nadella decided to do it first.
Oh, no.
And I don't know if you remember this, but poor Panos Panay, all his talking points had been excavated away.
Oh, my God.
And he just basically kind of BS'd for half an hour. Everybody who watched it, I certainly felt like a humiliating situation. And then shortly thereafter, he left for Amazon. He's got to be a little bit thinking, oh, God, here we go again. I'm going to get on stage and I'm not going to be able to say anything about a smarter Amazon Echo. The rumor is it's going to cost $5 more a month.
Yeah, I think
the old Echo will still be available, right? So if people want to set kitchen timers, and what do you use it for mostly? Kitchen timers, playing music, asking for podcasts, maybe?
Finding out how old TV stars are, because I want to see if I'm older than them.
Isn't that weird? Maybe it's an age thing.
Are they still
Larry.
alive?
I'm always asking that. Like, how old is that person?
Right.
Turning on lights. I use that often on
Turning
lights.
on lights?
Yeah.
See, that's because you're a home automation expert.
But I think there are, and Amazon's got
Can
a
I
fair
tie my
amount.
Echo to the cassettas? I have cassettas.
Yes.
Can I? The Lutron. I could make it turn off on and off lights.
Oh, sure.
You could.
That's the only way I turn it. We don't even have a light switch in our bedroom.
Oh, that's a mistake. I can tell you
No.
that right now.
I mean, there is one somewhere, but I haven't used it. I don't know where it is. It's somewhere in a corner. But,
Yeah, I
Have
think
a license.
Amazon's big problem though is that it has the context of the home, but it doesn't have your personal context, which is what Google and Apple has. So it'll be interesting. I'm expecting to see some kind of element if they do launch this AI. Where you can feed it more information about you, a bit like your bee on your wrist.
Right.
And I was just, this last week, I just put a review up on The Verge for a calendar, digital calendar I was testing that has its own sidekick AI that you send data to
Nice.
so that it knows. So I can send my son's tennis schedule and it will put all the dates and times on my calendar for me, which is just
Ooh, what's the name of that?
life-changing. It's called Skylight Calendar.
Skylight. Yeah. I saw your review. Yeah.
Yeah, and so the Sidekick is the new feature, newish. It just came out a couple months ago, and there's a fee. It's $40. Well, it was $40 a year when I was testing, and like an hour after I posted my review, they doubled the price.
Oh my God.
To $80. But my question immediately from my editor was like, well, would you still pay for it? Was it still valuable? And it was very valuable. I would be tempted. And I think that's what Amazon needs to do with Alexa. If it's going to add this charge, which it needs to do, because as we've seen reports of, it's lost a lot of money on its Echo devices and its smart voice assistant, that it's got to add that extra value. And I could see this type of thing, like what Sidekick does for Skylight Calendar, which is help organize your family. I mean, that's Amazon's wheelhouse. You know, as we were talking about earlier, they're very much in people's homes and used by families quite extensively, more so probably than the other two. So it will be, because they're so inexpensive as well, they need that level. They need to bring the context to Amazon smart home, which Google and Apple already has. And again, though, who will trust it with their privacy? Well, as a parent, having someone fill out my calendar for me is worth it.
If there's value to it,
that's
you're
a
willing
value,
to trade out
significant
your
value. Just
privacy.
like we use Gmail, we're willing to
I'll
trade
be
out
honest.
our
I read your
privacy.
review and it made me want to have kids.
And you've got kids.
Yeah, but they're 30 and 32. I don't need that. I don't have their schedule. I wish that I had piano lessons and tennis lessons and soccer games to go to. This looks so cool hanging on
It's
the wall
very
in your
cool.
kitchen. I love this.
Yeah, it's neat. And as we talked about it on Tech News Weekly, and as I said, I'm sure a lot of your audience would be able to roll their own with DACboard and like some e-ink screen and do something amazing. But if you just want a plug and play solution that works, this really does. And the AI assistant portion has been incredibly useful, and this is what I want to see come to. I could see this coming to Amazon's assistant. I mean, Siri and Google could do this too. And the charge, they're charging $80 a year. ChatGPT can do some of this, so can Gemini, but you have to pay for the higher tiers.
Yeah.
So people, if they can show value, and like you say, if it's something that is going to help you, just like, if the robot vacuum can clean your floor for you, you're going to pay for it. If the assistant can keep your life in order for you, you may consider paying for it. So I think but can they bring enough value? And that's what I'm interested to see on Wednesday when they hopefully announce this new Amazon Alexa revamped, re-architected, who will hopefully be a lot smarter and be able to do a lot more in your home. And a couple of the other things they've said that it's going to be able to do is like multiple commands at once, which is something that none of the other voice assistants manage to do. And that could be really useful. So you can say, turn out the lights, turn on the TV, turn down the thermostat, and lock the back door, and it would just do it all for you.
That's the goal. That's the holy
the
grail
dream.
of home automation. Or even better,
Tea, Earl Grey, hot.
tea, Earl Grey hot. Exactly.
I mean, why couldn't you, for example, connect ChatGPT or some other AI agent to your Google Calendar and have it organize it for you and then project
So
it?
I did that. And what ChatGPT did, well, I couldn't connect it to the calendar.
Right.
What it did was it spat out an ICS file and let me import that. But that's too many steps. That's sitting at a computer. That's not helpful. Whereas
Right.
with the Sidekick on Skylight, I just sent the file via email and it did everything. It added it all to the calendar for me automatically. Got the times right, the place, the person whose calendar it was. So yeah, it's that extra step. ChatGPT is too general, I suppose. It's just that's not what it's specifically designed for. And I think that sort of specific artificial intelligence, when you have something that does, going back to the robot, like when it does one thing and does it well, that's valuable. Whereas when it tries to do too many things and messes most of them up, which is like what most of them do today.
I have, as I'm sure Leo does as well, a gazillion things that track my sleep and my health and all that. And half the time I can't understand them, right? I still don't know what HRV, I mean, I don't know what it stands for. But so I actually started feeding in the screens from some of these, like the screen for my Fitbit or the screen for my smart ring into ChatGPT and said, would you explain this to me in common English so I can do something with it? And it's actually remarkably useful to, and the same thing, I had it analyze a lab test and a radiology report.
Our IT guy, Russell, feeds terms of service and end user agreements into ChatGPT and says, are there any issues I should worry about in here? Or is there anything I need to know from this? Because nobody reads the terms of service.
That's genius. I love it.
There are some, if you give it something and it analyzes it, there's some very good things.
It
will be ironic, won't it? You're sending your instructions via email, Jennifer. It would be ironic if we had these great smart machines, but you had to use a command line to tell it what
well, you
to
can
do.
also upload a photo, and it can pass that. So,
do you worry about hallucinations though, like being set off on a wild goose chase?
So it did. What I thought was neat about this is it will send. It will do everything that I've asked. So I'll send it a picture of my son's schedule, or I'll forward an email from my son's coach, which somewhere in the email mentions a date, and it will pass that data. But then it sends me an email after it's added everything to my calendar and shows everything it's added. And right next to each entry is a delete button. So anything it's added that it shouldn't have, I can easily delete. But that does require me going to check it. So yeah, I mean, being able to, I would worry about hallucinations in my smart home for sure. And this is what I like about this so far. My sort of dabbling with artificial intelligence in my home or generative AI, is that I'm able to check its work. And that, you kind
That's
of
a shame, because ultimately the best, most useful thing would be get the human out of the loop.
Yeah, ultimately.
Right. But you can't, if you can't trust it, you can't.
No, and this is the problem with generative AI and the smart home is if it went wild, there's a lot that could go wrong in your home, as opposed to if you're just sitting and talking in a window with a chatbot and it starts saying it's fallen in love with you, the worst thing that can happen. Whereas if it can start adjusting your thermostat in the middle of the night or unlocking your doors without your
doing anything.
This is where
I noticed Jennifer forgot to close the garage door, lock her doors, and turn off the lights downstairs, but I know she would want me to, so I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
It's long overdue that we have a secret.
Well, my security system will lock my door, but it won't unlock it for me. And I think that was a deliberate.
That's probably a good thing. Yeah. There are some things that are more dangerous.
Right.
Is it analogous to the Waymo? At first, I mean, if you think of it, a self-driving vehicle could cause horrendous problems.
Right.
And so we first get in gingerly and kind of watch, holding tight onto the shoot handle. But eventually we kind of relax into it and say, I think I can trust it.
And that's the danger. That's when you get in trouble.
That's when your troubles begin.
No, it's true. Yeah, when I first had autopilot on my Tesla, I completely didn't trust it. I mean, I knew it was a piece of crap, and so I used it, but I watched it every minute. Yeah, full self-driving is like 98% good.
It's those 2%.
It's that 2% that can literally kill you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Let's take a break. We got to take a break. We've got a great panel. Having a lot of fun. Gonna have some more fun. It's not over yet. Jennifer Pattison, Tuohy, Abrar, Al-Heeti, Larry Magid. I like to mix up the order just to see if Benito's paying attention. He got it. Bang on. Thank you, Benito. Our show today brought to you by ZipRecruiter. According to research, a major challenge, and I will back this up, it's my own experience, that many employers face is the pressure to hire quickly. Somebody gives you notice, you've got 2 weeks, you're going to have to do their job until, you hire somebody. So you've got a lot of stuff on your plate already, and now you got to look for a new person. It's a tough hurdle to overcome because it is time consuming to search for great candidates to sort through applications, answer, voicemails. If you can relate, I know I can. I've got a question for you. Have you ever tried ZipRecruiter? What a boon it has been for us. ZipRecruiter has figured out how to solve this exact problem. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get quality candidates within the first day. We would get often within an hour or two. How does that magic happen? Well, I could just try it and you can find out. You can try it for free at ziprecruiter.com/twit. ZipRecruiter is the hiring site employers prefer the most. That's what G2 says. How fast does ZipRecruiter's smart technology start showing your job to qualified candidates immediately? You click send, and it's posted to 100 plus job sites and social. So you're casting the widest net. All of those applicants, though, all of those resumes, those voicemails, those emails go right into the ZipRecruiter interface, not to your email box. In fact, they reformat the resume so you can scan them quickly. They've got screening questions, true or false, multiple choice, even essay questions, so you can eliminate candidates who don't meet your needs. And then something magical happens. ZipRecruiter goes out, looks at the resumes it has on file, more than 1 million current resumes, because lots of people go to ZipRecruiter looking for work. It then says, this person matches your requirements and sends you a list of people who fit your needs. You can go through them, screen them just like you would, and then do something magical, send an invite to the people you want. And this puts you at the head of the line. You're competing for the best employees with a lot of other companies. By inviting the best employees to apply, they're flattered. They love it. This has been my experience. They apply. They love it. Try it. Relax. Let ZipRecruiter speed up your hiring. See for yourself. ZipRecruiter.com/twit right now. Try it for free. Free. It's the same price as a genuine smile from a stranger, a picture-perfect sunset, or a cute dog running up to you and licking your hand. And that's ZipRecruiter.com/twit. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. Thank you, ZipRecruiter, for all the good work you've done for us to make it a lot easier to get through those times when somebody moves on. We've been talking a lot about AI. I think there's no question there's an AI boom. According to OpenAI, this shocked me. ChatGPT now serves 400 million users every week.
Wow.
400 million weekly active users. That's kind of mind-blowing. I mean, there's only 350 million people in the U.S. That's worldwide, obviously. In December, OpenAI said they had 3 million weekly active users. It's now up, 33%. They don't say how many of them have paid.
That's the question, right?
Yeah. I think even if all of them paid the $20 a month, it still wouldn't cover the bill.
No. Wouldn't cover the electric bill.
Yeah. But, I mean, this is why the stock market's going crazy. And investment firms, VCs, are going crazy over AI because the upside is very high, is very up, even if it's a money loser right now, right? Developer traffic for OpenAI has doubled in the last 6 months. Enterprise-wise, OpenAI has 2 million paying enterprise users. I don't know if that's the 200. I think that might be the $200 a month plan. Anyway, OpenAI, obviously a little stung by the Chinese DeepSeek, is quick to tell you that they're doing fine. We're doing fine. Thank you very much.
Very much broken through into the mainstream, and that's where we've seen for a lot of tech products. This is just going back to the robot vacuums. Like, there's the one area where all my normal friends talk about, like, they all want robot vacuums and video doorbells, and then they all started talking about ChatGPT when it came out. Isn't that interesting? And even my husband was like, "Oh, someone at work said I could use this new thing called ChatGPT," and I was like, "Oh my God."
Is your husband a tech Luddite? Is he a
complete tech Luddite? Stays away as much as possible, mainly because he's forced to live in a smart home. But
that'll do it.
That'll do it.
Honey, is there a way just to turn the light on? Please?
Yes, that's my life.
Stacey Higginbotham always talked about her husband, like, honey, why are the blinds going up and down? The poor guy. He was so happy when she got out of the business.
Stacey and I have, we need to get a spousal support group going.
I think so.
We've discussed this.
My wife would definitely join. I drive her crazy.
But it is. I think
yeah.
I think ChatGPT really has become, it's mainstream, and everyone is familiar with it. And I think it coming to the iPhone, even though that's still quite limited because you have to have a certain model of phone to use it at the moment. But yes, this is a clear indicator that generative AI is going mainstream, and we're going to everyone is using it now mainly for work, I would say, is where we're at the moment. Like, it's useful for things like spreadsheets and the things like Larry was talking about earlier about deciphering complicated details.
I just got this 3-page letter from my investment firm, which I think is important. And I got the idea from Leo. I'm going to scan it and feed it into ChatGPT and figure out what the hell it's all about, because I don't want to read it.
You've seen the New Yorker cartoon. Maybe it wasn't a New Yorker cartoon. Maybe it was XKCD, where the guy says, I'm going to take this bullet point and have AI generate a nice long email to my boss, telling him what I've done. And then the boss saying, I'm going to take this email and distill it down using AI to one bullet point.
Wow. Maybe the federal workers could use it to report the 5 things they did last week.
5 things. I would be hard pressed to tell you
Me
5
too.
things I did last week.
I think half of those 400 million are probably students using it to write essays as well.
That's a little scary for teachers, I would imagine. Teachers take 2 tacks. Jeff Jarvis tells me this. He's a professor, deals with college kids a lot. They take 2 tacks. One is they ban it. They say, you may not.
Yeah.
And they try to use tools to find AI-generated text and so forth. The others embrace it. And I think this is the proper way to handle it and say, look, it's going to be in your life from now on. So let's use it, but let's use it appropriately. And I think that teach people
them
how to use it.
Yeah.
One of the biggest challenges I have as a person who gets paid to write is I will sometimes use ChatGPT or Gemini for ideas, for outlines, for not verifying information, finding out some things. And sometimes it phrases it so well that it's just tempting to steal it. But I figure I'm not allowed to do that because people are paying me for my original writing.
Well, is it, first of all,
New York Times
stealing?
might agree with you. The New York Times is now using AI.
I saw that. I was a little shocked.
That was very surprising.
Under bylines?
Yeah, so not writing stories, but for sort of around the work.
Sure, I use it all the time for that.
Yes, but they're very we're very specific at The Verge where we do not use AI.
I think the Verge broke this story, actually. It was Jesse Weatherbed. The New York Times adopts AI tools in the newsroom, encouraging staff to use AI to suggest edits, headlines, and questions to ask during interviews. I was pretty shocked when I read this story, to be honest.
I think the reporters at the New York Times are a bit unhappy as well, from what I heard.
The staff were reportedly, Jess writes, sent new editorial guidelines detailing permitted use for, and this surprised me, Echo and other AI tools. No, okay, New York Times, do not use Echo for your AI. That's
God.
Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. No, it's not Amazon Echo. Okay, sorry.
No.
It's a new internal AI tool.
Yes. Because Amazon's
Echo.
is Alexa and Echo is the speaker. So yes, but that is a bad choice of word.
Seems to me. They were encouraged to use it, encourage newsroom employees to suggest edits and revisions for their work. So in effect, I don't know of that New York Times, but I know a lot of places copy editors have been, banished to some degree, right?
Which I feel like copy editors are even more important now if we're going to tapping into AI, right?
Do you still have copy editors at CNET?
We do, and I hope that remains true for the foreseeable.
I can always tell when a blog or a website doesn't.
Yeah.
Because they're typos, they're grammatical errors, they're just little mistakes.
Absolutely. Also, I saw a posting that I pulled up here. It was from Gannett. It was an AI-assisted reporter. You'll be assisted by technology to create a high volume of stories from trusted press releases and similar sources.
That was a job description?
It's crazy. It's unreal. But this is a real thing.
Who was that for?
This is for
Gannett.
Gannett, USA Today. This is not a beat reporting position.
Wait a minute. I just want to make note
In that case.
that reassured Jennifer that it was for USA Today. Oh, well, in that case.
Well, that makes sense. But yeah.
It was the Gannett
A lot of people
part
read
more than
USA
the USA
Today.
Today part. It was Gannett. It's, they've been...
They're not
Anyway.
known for their journalistic
But yeah, that's
excellence.
So to see something like this from the New York Times is startling because I didn't think people don't expect that from.
Well, it depends on how they're used. I mean, I
Right.
have no problems using it as an idea generator. Did I miss something? But I don't. use
I
it
think
as
I've used it.
Yeah.
When you interview authors, you're always given from the publicity department a one sheet that's basically, if you would like, you could describe our author this way and ask them these 4 questions. And I think there are a lot of lazy people on Good Morning Muncie or whatever that use this. I know because I used to be on the West Coast, so I'd be the end of the book tour back when I was working at KNBR in San Francisco, and I always had all the authors on. And they would have answered that same 4 questions 100 times by the time they got to me. So I knew, first of all, I couldn't use those. I wouldn't. And they were always so relieved when I asked them a question that wasn't in that set of, proposed questions. This scares me a little bit. Jess writes that they want to use this Echo AI to suggest edits and revisions. Okay, copy editor. Generate summaries. Okay, good use. Promotional copy for social media. Okay, this is the one that bothered me. And SEO headlines.
That's scary. Clickbait.
So there was
Clickbait.
Yeah.
The Verge cast podcast that The Verge has, our executive editor Jake Krasnakis and David Pierce, who hosts it, was talking about this, and this was what Jake was saying. While we don't do this on The Verge, there are, you guys
So
will, I'm sure,
you
be
use
familiar.
humans for the link bait, right?
Well, no, just that when you write, so the writing's the fun part, right? We were just saying that. We love writing, but there's so many menial tasks. Once you've filed your story, you have to fill out like 3 different headlines. This is what they're talking about. So you have to you've got your main headline, then you've got your headline for your social media dissemination. Then you have your SEO headline, which will be different from your main headline.
Oh,
then
that's not. That's not the main headline. That's a special SEO version. Is that the subhead, or is it only in the page?
No, it's so when it's the search. When you search, so you may notice if you look at the headline on this Verge.com article and then you go back and Google it, it will have a different headline.
The headline in the Verge article is exactly straightforward. The New York Times adopts AI tools in the newsroom.
Yes,
That's perfect.
And this may, and not all headlines get rewritten, but most will have 4 different versions of headlines. And
let me go back to see the
is this what they do at CNET too? I don't know.
Yeah.
We used to, but you
used to,
we don't
but you've
necessarily
changed.
anymore. Yeah. So our main
headline, it takes a lot of extra time.
Yeah, and our main headline ends up being what we optimize for SEO or try to optimize for SEO. But we used to write kind of separate. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
because
SEO.
there'll be the main SEO headline is normally very dry.
Yeah.
The Verge quite often will have more
very punchy,
quirky
I love
headlines
it. I
you
love
might
that.
notice
Yeah.
on our front page.
Good.
And those wouldn't be as good
No
for
keywords.
SEO.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's like I name shows, like I'm going to name this show Muskie. And
Right.
that's terrible for SEO.
I don't know. A lot of people searching on Muskie.
But then our editors will come in and they will put a subhead in that is like the 3
Right,
different
that's what it
things we
is.
talked
Yes,
about. Yeah.
yes. So this
By
is.
the way, I hate that. I don't want SEO. I always get.
I've always loved your guys' headlines. They're
Yeah,
so
the headline
fun.
should be. My
It's the best
position is
part.
we're going to cover 30 news stories. There's no way you can, in a subhead,
Right.
summarize what we did. So just use the stupid, funny headline. And then the whole point, just between us kids, is we try to pick a headline that's at the end of the show so that people are forced to
Have to
listen to the
keep-
entire show to find out what the
To
headline
get to it,
was.
yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. It's
But
like
you
how
could
they
take the transcript of this show and feed it into a generative AI and have it boil it
It'd
down
be
to one
an
paragraph.
hour and a half shorter.
Yeah. I'm kidding.
I feel like your strategy for naming is like when grocery stores put milk at the back of the store so that you have to walk through everything else to
Yeah.
get to it. It's genius.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
the
just
stuff
psychology.
you want is never at the front of the
Candy
store.
is right at the front of the store.
No.
But you know what is interesting about this
You gotta
SEO
exit
thing?
through the gift shop.
Exactly. What's interesting about this SEO thing is the main thing we hear about in media is the death of SEO with AI, right? So to have AI optimize for SEO and then kill SEO is hilarious.
It is. It's in fact, to some degree, I think a lot of AI is talking to other AI, just like that cartoon.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
if I name the show Musked, people will think that we talked about Musk in the show, though,
It's genius.
We haven't.
and we haven't, and we won't. I'm trying to avoid it.
Good.
You don't want
To be
clickbait?
honest,
Come on.
Yeah.
if you want to, I mean, there's
Please.
plenty of places you can hear about Musk.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be here.
Everywhere.
Yeah, well, that's we used to talk a lot about it, and I realized that people are coming to us as a refuge,
Light
of-
relief.
Light
I know we
relief.
had the first week of everything going kind of crazy a few
We
weeks
were all
ago.
going like, ah!
We had a story about an ice cream maker that was our most popular story on the site.
See,
Oh, yeah.
And
We
I
all
was like,
want
I just
pudding.
want to read about ice cream.
Yeah, more pudding.
I'm watching a lot more just mind-dumbing television these days on Netflix and a lot less CNN and MSNBC and Fox than I used to watch.
Oh God, yeah, because it'll agitate the system.
Triggers me, just
It's triggering,
it
and
doesn't
and I
make the world
understand
any better that I
people feel like, well, we got to pay attention, but not 24/7.
no.
I noticed I'm watching more documentaries about the 60s, like about how we protested things and stuff like that. And I'm it's a little reassuring because I had forgotten, but things looked pretty bad in 1968.
History repeats itself. Yeah.
They really, I mean, we thought this was the end of the world, and we made it. So I don't know.
I like that. It's a note of optimism. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking for it wherever
I
can
long for the
find it.
days of Richard Nixon.
I know. He was, he seems so mild in comparison.
He could be shamed.
Yeah. Amazon is shutting down its app store for Android. I thought that was a weird thing.
I thought it's weird that it still people
Existed.
use it. Like,
Well, they need it for the tablets, for the the Amazon Fire tablets.
and it looks like it'll
understand
stick
it's
around
gonna
for that.
That's going to stick around. But and this is funny because Microsoft initially, when they put in their Android subsystem so that you could run Android apps under Windows, didn't use the Google Play Store. They used the Amazon App Store. But Microsoft shut that down pretty quickly and shut down the use of the App Store. So starting in August 20th, you'll no longer have access to the Amazon App Store on your Android.
I didn't even know you
device.
had an Amazon App Store on my Android. So
Yeah.
There you
I
go.
won't
Well,
miss it.
you'll like this. Did you know about the Amazon Coins program?
No.
You used to be able to buy coins with real American money. A coin was worth a penny, and then use it for in-app purchases. I dimly remember this. I could never figure out. I
What
think
to do
what
with
Amazon's
them.
hope was you'd buy some and forget about it.
Kind of
then they would keep it.
Like your Bitcoin,
Yeah. Well, Amazon's on a turd getting rid of all sorts of things. They shut down Chime, RIP, the worst video calling service in
Oh, they
existence.
did? I used it just the other day.
Well, they have announced it's shut down. It's going to last for another year, but it is no longer. You can no
Thank
longer sign
God.
up for
Oh.
it. I know it was only
Why do you use that? What is it?
We're partners. I mean, the
talk-
problem with Connect Safe is we're partners with all these companies. So talk to them. We have to use their
If you
platform.
talk to anyone at Amazon, Blink, Ring, any Connect,
You
Eero,
gotta
any
use their
connection.
platform. And the employees hate it as much as I do.
So it was their version of Zoom or Microsoft
Yes. Yes.
Teams.
Yeah.
It was a video calling service, which they launched around the time of the pandemic and when everyone was launching new video services, and I think they were having many partners encouraged to use it, or if you
Yeah.
have AWS service, it was like
That
a
made sense.
package, but never very good and not a great experience. And
Well, the
only
other
really
problem
seems
is-
like Amazon used it. No one
The other
else.
problem is that, I mean, even if it were good, how many interfaces can you remember? Like, where is the chat button? Where is the record button? How do I mute my microphone? If there are so many of these out there that
And they're all different interfaces.
they're all different.
aren't
I
they?
know Zoom
Yeah.
well, but the others I have to think about.
Why did Zoom take off during the pandemic and Skype didn't.
Yeah.
Teams didn't. Chime didn't. What did Zoom do right that they all did wrong?
And none of us had ever heard of, or very few people had even heard of Zoom prior to the pandemic.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it was used in business.
Yeah, I was going to say for work, it was what we were already using, but I would have expected something like Skype to really take off because Skype's going to be around forever, and it's not as abhorrent.
It feels
as
like
Teams.
Microsoft fumbled that.
Microsoft fumbles a lot of things. I feel like Outlook and Teams are probably the worst things they've ever created. But
Speak your mind. Speak your mind.
Sorry, guys. I love working with you all, but you need to fix Outlook.
No, I agree with you 100%. You're amongst friends.
Yeah, but no, I'm surprised that Zoom took over from Skype, mainly because Skype had people were aware of what it was before the pandemic, and I think a lot of people learned what Zoom was for the first time. But I don't know if it was the interface. It wasn't particularly more intuitive than Skype, so I don't know what.
E. Rosner in our YouTube chat says it very simply in 2 words: Skype blows.
Okay, there you go. Don't overthink it. Just that's that.
I used to use that routinely for the show.
You
years ago,
you
right?
had Skyposaurus. I remember Skyposaurus.
Wow, you really did listen back in the day. Yeah, the TWiT wouldn't exist, frankly, without Skype.
Skype.
None of our hosts were in the same. We're in Petaluma, California, so I had to Zoom everybody in, and it was Skype for the longest time because Skype was the best.
When I was at CBS, we were required to disclose that we use Skype. We had to put their logo on there.
Yeah, they always wanted us to, but I never did.
Oh,
interesting.
I noticed the news networks when there's a Skype call, we'll have a little Skype.
Yeah, we had to. That was a
Zoom doesn't do. I don't believe Zoom asks us to do that.
I don't think so. Yeah.
So I will give them a plug now, though. As soon as when did we switch to Zoom, Benito? Do you remember? You're right. We had Skyposaurus. Colleen, our first chief engineer, built us. It was 4 Mac Minis, I think, and each would make one of the calls because there was no way to do individual mixing in Skype. So we had 4 different calls that we would then mix together and feed the call back to everybody. So it was a pretty complicated, hairy thing. We used that, I think, well after we moved into the last studio, the East Side studio. But at some point, Zoom got better than Skype. Plus, everybody knew how to use Zoom.
Right. And Google Meet never took off as much as I expected. It's still doing pretty well, but
the irony is, as a company, we use Meet for almost all of our, which is so weird. I don't know why. I have no idea why.
Zoom must have. Zoom didn't require an account, right? So I think that was
you could use it on the web. It was more flexible.
Skype, downloading anything that's Microsoft is always such, a painful experience. And
Microsoft is not
directing grandma to download Skype. I use Skype a lot because it was a great way to call friends.
Right, in the UK.
In the UK from the US many years ago. And
when my daughter was going to school in France, I bought her a $90 a year Skype phone number, and we were able to talk freely.
Seems so expensive today.
Is it more expensive? Probably.
No, it's free now.
It's free now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, I don't know about Skype, but I mean,
Jammer B, who is the mind of the company, he was our studio manager for many years. He's now retired, but he still watches. Nice to see you, John. He says Alex Lindsay, who was one of our hosts in Mac Break Weekly, insisted we move to Zoom. He said, "Why are you still using Skype?" And he was right. I mean, if you watch the show, the quality's very good. I think
we use Zencaster for our video podcast because it does a little bit better job on the video than Skype, and plus it's all in separate tracks. So
we do. We are using something called Zoom ISO, which does that as well.
Yeah. So the separate tracks are useful when you're.
Oh God.
Podcast.
That's why we had Skyposaurus, because I needed separate tracks because Patrick Norton would always be like under a car on the show fixing his car, and I'd have to mute him. So we needed separate audio tracks. That's why we had Skyposaurus. Yeah, Zoom now with Zoom ISO is a pretty painless process. I'm on Zoom. You are all on Zoom. Benito is actually, it gets a little more complicated from there on. He is. The Zoom call then goes to a Macintosh in the cloud at Mac Stadium, which is running Ecamm. No? So you're running Zoom locally, but you're running Ecamm locally also? Ah. So we don't use the Mac Stadium server anymore? Or you're not using it? Anyway. Well, that's better, isn't it? Is it better for you? That's why I gave you my old Mac. Yeah. Yeah, I got a Mac Mini.
And you're no longer working out of a big studio anymore, right?
No, this is my attic.
Okay.
You want to see it?
Sure.
For real? This is the fake. This is the fakes.
Oh,
this is what it really looks like.
I love that.
Oh, look at the wheel, the cog. I love the cog.
Oh yeah, we saved that from the studio.
Can I show you a secret? Let me grab my little webcam.
We're gonna see your set.
I keep a wardrobe in my office.
Yeah, you never know.
Because back when I was working for BBC a couple years ago, they would put me on the air and I had to wear a suit and tie.
Yeah.
Because it was BBC.
It's in like broadcast news, right? William Hurt was going to go on and he had a starched pressed shirt in his drawer that he took out and put on.
I run over there and put on a shirt and
My wardrobe is in another room, Larry. I've decided to separate my wardrobe from my
I'm lazier than you are. Also, I had tighter deadlines. Sometimes I wouldn't have more than a couple of minutes before I had to go on the air.
Leo, your lighting is fantastic, though. That's what I'm.
Yeah, we brought in a gaffer, really good lighting guy.
So good.
Who, in fact, if you go back to that over the head shot, I can show you. This is a Kino Flow. It's very bright. These are Elgato Duo lights.
So good.
And then you don't see, but behind me, there's another duplicate Kino Flow, the Diva light behind me. And then there's some up spots. There's all sorts of stuff going on.
So how hot is it in that room right now?
Not at all. It's very pleasant because they're all LED lights.
Oh, that's perfect.
Back in the old days, it would have been unbearable. Yeah.
I have a studio light just for show. It actually doesn't work, but it looks kind of cool.
It looks good.
Yeah.
And that's what counts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Looks like it'll send a bat signal or something. I love it.
Yeah. It turns out that good lighting is very important.
Yeah. Good lighting and good microphones make
It covers a multitude of defects. And then Anthony and Burke cobbled together this neon TWiT logo.
So good.
So that's
Everything looks
good.
Is that a real Macintosh behind you or a fake? Or
no, it's Jammer B gave me when he left. When he the first time I met Jammer B, he gave me that old phone. The last time I saw Jammer B, he left me his Mac. That's the original 128K Mac. Wow. Not only that, it's actually running. It's running flying toasters.
Is that worth anything? Is that like a
oh, no. Would want it.
Too many.
Look at that. No one would want it.
Oh, no, it's a great prop.
It's a good prop, but you know what? It's funny. It introduces a huge complexity because it's a CRT screen. It's the only CRT screen you see, and of course, it has you remember in the old days the scan lines going across it, and finally, Burke figured out how to tune this camera's shutter rate so there'd be no scan lines, and so it actually works pretty well.
It's probably using more energy than everything else in your office.
Oh, I guarantee you.
Yeah.
That single thing is using more wattage than anything else in here. I guarantee you. Let's see. Spotify making it easier to release audiobooks narrated by AI.
I don't like this.
More AI.
Or I'm going to turn into like a curmudgeon, but.
Are you a Luddite on that regard? So I love human readers. I listen to audiobooks on Audible. And they're actors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's being brought to life.
Exactly. I'm reading a book I'm listening to a book that I'm not going to say what it is because I don't want to bash the person who's narrating it, but they sound like a robot and they're not. So for it to actually be a robot, I don't particularly enjoy. But that's the thing is like, I think, it's two-sided. I want people who do voiceover work to have jobs. People who are good at that should continue to do that. And I'm sure they will. Obviously, it's not going to eradicate those jobs yet.
Well, it is a cause for concern, honestly.
But would the AI know what to emphasize? I mean, a good narrator knows.
It does a pretty good job.
I mean, that's the other part of it, right? It's like these are, like you mentioned, these are professionals who know they know how to act with their voices, and it sounds more human. It's more enjoyable to listen to. I think it's not just about hearing something; it's about how a story is told, and there's an art to that. And I think AI is smart, and I think it will do its best to replicate it, and maybe in time it will. But it's not the same.
And rarely is the author the best person to narrate a book. Once in a while, but usually they're not that great at it.
Exactly.
Would you like to hear some of the 11AI voice?
Let's do it.
Sure.
Yeah. This is from their.
Hi there. This is the voice of Adam from 11 Labs.
No.
Hi there. This is the voice of Antoni from 11 Labs.
No.
Hi there. This is the voice of Arnold from 11 Labs.
Hi, Arnold.
Hi there.
This is the voice of Bella
Ooh,
from
I
11
think this might be old because I think they've gotten better than
That's
that.
pretty bad.
This is the voice of Callum from
Hi, Callum. How you doing? Dude?
I've heard. I mean, AI can do a much better job than that. That's not. Those
Yeah,
are-
these might be old. I'll have to do a better Google search.
I mean, Notebook LM. When I mentioned that fake podcast it did about me or anybody, just feed it your bio. They sound like real people.
it's depressing because
And
they
they get
sound
all
like real
excited, too.
podcasters.
They sound like
Is what
real
they sound like.
like bad podcasters, but real
Bad podcasters,
But,
all,
they're all-
including
but
the
they're-
ums and
But
yeah.
they're not that different than a lot of real cat podcasters. Too, though.
Yeah. I know that's kind of sad. I was playing with before the show my B computer, and it actually has some pretty good voices.
That British woman's great. Not as good as the real British woman we have from Jennifer, but
If Jennifer would just give me her voice.
well, that can happen.
I'm using a voice that we decided that sounds like Helen Mirren, right?
Yeah.
Let me see if I can.
But Jennifer, it won't put you out of work. You're still better.
It's my guess that these are actually 11 Labs voices. I think they.
As the room erupted in laughter, Peter's face turned crimson, and he wished he could disappear from this embarrassing moment.
Well, that's how
very
I
good.
feel all the time. Isn't that good?
It's not bad.
You could hear that reading a book.
I could, and that's what I don't like.
That's scary,
listening
isn't
to
it?
that, I'm like,
Well, that's
oh,
the whole
no.
thing about AI. When it's good, it's scary.
Yeah.
One of my favorite readers is the now sadly discredited Neil Gaiman, who's this is hard. Like, do you listen to Michael Jackson music? Do you read Neil Gaiman stuff? He's a great writer, and he was
so
a
sad
horrible
that
person.
The Sandman 2 isn't coming out now, and neither is the next. So Good Omens is like my favorite book ever.
Oh, I love his writing. Anyway, this voice sounds like Neil Gaiman. This is awesome,
Amidst the chaos, Chloe's mind raced. Her
right?
thoughts a whirlwind of worry and doubt, desperately seeking a way out.
It's not exactly Neil Gaiman, but it's close enough.
The voice of an audiobook narrator is so key. Like when
It really is.
I know I want to listen to the book, but I will read the reviews to see if people could handle the voice. Because if it's wrong, if it's not quite right, it's just you just can't listen.
Luckily, Audible gives you a free sample, which I always listen to before I buy.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? And that's something you voice actors should remember, is that we actually choose the book sometimes because of the voice actor.
Yeah.
Sure, it's like watching a movie. It could be a great screenwriter, but if the actor,
Well, and you can follow the voice actor and go and listen to more books by them if you like them, which is
I do.
kind of like following the author.
I do. Yeah. All right. Timeout. Did I do a timeout? Benito, where am I? Do I need to? You were supposed to tell me when it was time. All right. We'll take a little break and we'll come back. Lots more. I don't want to complain too much about Spotify. We are now on Spotify, both audio and video. So even though I think that in many ways they've been the bane of podcasting, and now maybe they're going to be the bane of audiobooks. I don't know. But at the same time, if you can't beat them, join them. More to come in just a bit with a wonderful panel. Thanks. We're streaming, by the way, and I see people chatting in all of our streams, which is wonderful. Of course, Discord is for our club members. If you're not a Club Twit member, $7 a month gets you ad-free versions of all of our shows and lots of additional content. We've got some special events. Stacy's Book Club's coming up on Thursday. Stacy Higginbotham and I will talk about Micaiah Johnson's Those Beyond the Wall. It's a great book. It's very not difficult, but real, challenging in that regard, and a wonderful reader too. I'm listening to it on Audible. If you're not yet a member, it makes a big difference in terms of our bottom line. Yes, we have ads, but ads don't cover 100% of our costs. So clubs members do. We've cut back as much as we can. Shutting down the studio was one of the ways we cut back. But in order to keep doing what we're doing, and if we want to expand at all, we need your help. twit.tv/clubtwit, or scan the QR code in the upper left of the screen and join the fun. $7 a month. twit.tv/clubtwit. And it's thanks to the club members. We've got the Discord and a YouTube stream and a Twitch stream and a TikTok stream and an X stream and a LinkedIn, Facebook, and Kick. We're on 8 different platforms that you can watch us live on. Thank you to our Club Twit members. Oh, and by the way, another good reason to be a member of the club, we've got a really great show coming up for you on Wednesday on Intelligent Machines. Stephen Wolfram, the creator of Wolfram Alpha, will join us. We want to ask him about AI. He wrote a book about how LLMs work, but I think he's really up to date on the latest new reinforcement learning. Stephen Wolfram, our guest Wednesday on Intelligent Machines, and I thought you might want to know that. Our show today brought to you by US Cloud. I talked to them a couple of weeks ago, and I actually said, are you a cloud company? They said, no, we're the number one Microsoft unified support replacement. Now, they are actually the global leader in third-party Microsoft support for enterprises. They support 50 of the Fortune 500. Reason number one, they're going to save you a lot of money. Switching to US Cloud can save your business 30 to 50% over Microsoft Unified and Premier support. But it wouldn't be any good if it were just less expensive. It's also better. These are engineers. They get the best engineers with an average of 16 years experience in break fix. They know how to do support. They're faster too. Twice as fast average time to resolution, which is the amount of time that you really care about, versus Microsoft. Let me say that again. They're twice as fast as Microsoft. So half the cost, twice as fast, better. Now I got your attention, right? They also do things for their customers that are really remarkable. For instance, Microsoft's not going to tell you if you're overspending on Azure, right? They're going to encourage it. Well, US Cloud is excited to tell you about a new offering. It's their Azure Cost Optimization Services. This is actually a brilliant idea. When was the last time you evaluated your Azure usage? If you've been using Azure for a while, undoubtedly you got some Azure sprawl, a little, spend creep going on. Well, now saving on Azure is easier than you think with US Cloud. They offer an 8-week Azure engagement. It's powered by VBox. Over those 8 weeks, they'll identify key opportunities to reduce costs across your entire Azure environment. Now, you're going to get expert guidance from US Cloud, those great senior engineers with an average of over 16 years with Microsoft products. They're there to backstop it. At the end of the 8 weeks, you're going to get an interactive dashboard that will tell you very directly rebuild opportunities, downscale opportunities, and even unused resources. Microsoft's never going to tell you, allowing you to reallocate your precious IT dollars towards needed resources. Of course, you're going to save money. It's my hope you'll use that Azure savings to hire US Cloud and their Microsoft support. That's what a lot of US Cloud customers ended up doing, completely eliminating your unified spend. I'll give you a testimonial, a review from Sam. He's a technical operations manager at Bede Gaming, B-E-D-E. He gave US Cloud 5 stars. They did the Azure engagement. We found some things that have been running, he says, for 3 years, which no one was checking. He said those VMs were, 10 grand a month. Not a massive chunk in the grand scheme of how much we spend on Azure, but once you get to $40,000 or $50,000 a month, it really starts to add up. It's simple. Stop overpaying for Azure. Pay for what you need, obviously. Identify and eliminate Azure creep and boost your performance, and you can do it all in 8 weeks with US Cloud. Just one more reason to call US Cloud right now. Visit uscloud.com, book a call, find out how much your team can save. uscloud.com, book a call today, and get faster, better Microsoft support for less. uscloud.com. We thank them so much for supporting our show. California has a pretty good privacy policy and a pretty good privacy regulator. And I'm kind of proud of them. The California privacy regulator is now reaching out to fine the national, remember this breach, the national public data breach, hundreds of millions of social security numbers and other personally identifiable information leaked in this breach from the, all legally, by the way, all legally collected by NPD. The California regulator is asking the court to fine them $46,000. Well, that's pathetic.
I also laughed at that. Yeah.
Wait a minute, I didn't read the number until I looked deeper here. They failed to register as a data broker in the state. Man, this is pathetic. They released records, including social security numbers, of as many as 270 million people. Some of it was inaccurate, although I searched the database, found my social.
No.
Steve Gibson searched the database, found his social. It was one of the largest data breaches of last year. They filed for bankruptcy, which only, honestly, I suspect means they'll change their name, reorganize, and get back in business. It's just too lucrative. And the worst thing is there's no law against it. So California is doing the only thing it can do, which is filing a claim against it for failing to register with the agency as a data broker.
$46,000? That's like a $2 parking ticket.
It's nothing. It's a slap on the wrist. This is the best they can do.
Wow.
This is the California Privacy Protection Act, CPPA, says brokers have to register by January 31st, 2024. The fines are $200 a day. It's almost embarrassing. At least they have to register. And I would think, it's cheaper to register than not register. Salvatore Verini, the owner of Jericho Pictures, believe it or not, the parent company of National Public Data, did not respond to TechCrunch for a request for comment. Salvatore, what are you doing here? Jericho Pictures. Okay. I guess that I was going to be a great big story. I thought they were looking for millions. 46,000.
Yeah, I also had to go back and check that.
That seems wrong somehow, that we don't have anything better than that. By the way, that's as far as I know, that's the only penalty these guys are going to pay for this 270 million person data breach.
Shows you how much. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's just getting, I get mail almost every week from companies saying, we're sorry, but we've exposed your social security number and your children's social security number and all this other stuff. And here has a year's free Experian data protection.
Yeah, thanks.
It's like constant. It's constant. It's like
constant.
Which is, I mean, I almost feel like I kind of ignore it now, but it's like, should I? I probably should be quite worried about this, but what am I supposed to do? It's like, yeah, we can't change our social security numbers. We can change our passwords, but
right. Privacy's dead, my friends.
That's the title of this episode. Just kidding. It's come up a lot.
I still want to go with Musk.
Agree.
But I'm just, I don't know. Speaking of the current administration, there is a very good organization in the U.S. government called CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. The president doesn't like it historically. He didn't like it since 2020 when CISA said, no, the election was free and fair. Immediately fired the director of CISA, Chris Soghoian. But CISA has been continuing to do its work, trying to thwart security threats, deter the spread of misinformation. Now, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency has frozen all of its election security work. This is from Eric Geller reporting for Wired, is reviewing everything it has done to help state and local officials secure their elections for the last 8 years. The move represents the first major example of the country's cyber defense agency accommodating President Trump's claims of election fraud and online censorship. In a memo sent Friday to all CISA employees and obtained by Wired, CISA's acting director, Bridget Bean, said she was ordering a review and assessment of every position at the agency related to election security and countering misinformation and disinformation. Wouldn't want to do that. As well as every election security and dis, and malinformation product, activity, service, and program that has been carried out since the federal government designated election systems as critical infrastructure in 2017.
Chilling.
It's scary. I mean, there's a lot going on, but that's pretty scary. CISA has been very valuable.
How is Russia's election integrity systems working? I mean, how, because they've got free and fair elections, of course.
Yeah. I mean, there's not much more to say about it except that just, an alert. Something to pay attention to. The
it
FTC
literally gives me chills when I hear you talking about that.
Yeah,
it's the first thing you do if you want to undermine election.
Right. For the
integrity.
that's right. So when we get to when is it coming? 20.
Well, there's going to be midterm elections
28.
in 2026.
2026.
That's the first one. They're also
yeah. So are there any? What are the alternatives? There was a lot of work being done when he lost on election fraud and making sure everything's secure. So is that going to continue? Or is that all just going to go away and there's no chance of election fraud anymore? Is this what we're hearing?
The FTC has launched an inquiry into tech censorship. I fear for the future of Section 230. Both Democrats and Republicans have been hollering for the modification or elimination of Section 230 of the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. Section 230 protects both big companies and little companies like mine. It indemnifies us, prevents people from suing us. For instance, we have a Mastodon instance at twit.social. We have forums at twit.community. We also, of course, have, at last count, 8 different chat rooms going during the shows. In any one of those, if somebody posted something somebody didn't like, Section 230 prevents us from getting sued. The judge would immediately throw it out saying you can't sue the publisher for comments people put on their forums. But, of course, there are a number of people on both the left and right who would like to hold the publishers liable. Now, maybe if that's Meta or Google or Twitter, okay, they can afford to defend themselves in court, but it would put us out of business.
Yeah, that's interesting.
The FTC is launching, under the new chairman, Andrew Ferguson, an inquiry into, quote, tech censorship, which will help the FTC better understand how these firms may have violated the law by silencing and intimidating Americans for speaking their minds. One of the things Section 230 allows is moderation. Without it, moderation would be dangerous. I could be sued if somebody goes on my, right now, if somebody goes on my Mastodon and says, something awful, I can kick them off or I can delete the comment. I have the right to moderate it.
You realize the contradiction. They're basically telling you you're responsible for what everybody posts, but you can't.
But you can't do anything,
about it. It's
right.
like they're taking it away on both sides. It's just ridiculous.
And I think one of the reasons people think this is a good idea is they really think of Google and Meta and the big companies. They don't realize this affects everybody who has a forum, who has a blog, anywhere there is commenting. The Verge, CNET, and much smaller
every
players
local
like
news
me.
outlet, just about.
Yeah.
The only area where I think it has any validity is algorithms. You could argue that if Meta is promoting, or X or TikTok or anybody is promoting certain content and shoving it in your face, you could argue that they're playing some publishing role. But simply allowing for a forum, so some bozo wants to say something defamatory, sue the bozo.
Honestly, I think algorithms are protected. I think that's a free speech.
Well, that was, and that was isn't there, there's the Supreme Court case about that with Google, about the algorithms, in terms of pushing a person to do something because of what videos they were fed.
You can't tell the New York Times what stories to run or not run.
Right.
Rightly so.
Right. But
the government should not be in the that's what the First Amendment protects. The government should not be in the business of policing speech.
Right, but the question is, if the New York Times were to post something that was defamatory,
then that person could sue using libel or laws, right?
Right.
That's sufficient.
Right. But the point is...
And by the way, that still holds. If somebody puts something defamatory on my Mastodon about Larry Magid, you could go sue them. You can't sue me.
But not you. Right, exactly.
Why should you be able to sue me? Sue the person who defamed you.
Exactly.
Well, and also freedom of speech is not about the freedom. It's not about where you speak. So in terms of, like, if you're publishing on a private platform, that's not freedom. Freedom of speech is the ability to say whatever you believe and whatever you want, but it's not specifically about where you can do it. So if you have a private platform, a private company can moderate whatever they want. They can moderate, they have the right to put what they want on their platform. But then this is where the issue with the FTC here, with the act we were talking about, that will make it illegal, or not illegal, will make it difficult for you to publish anything you want on your website because you could get in trouble. So you've got this hamster wheel going around. It's like,
well, there's
you
a
can't
certain
publish.
irony.
Yeah, there's a lot of irony.
Because
There's
and
a lot of
really, I
irony.
think it comes down to this comes down to the decision by Meta and Twitter at the time after January 6th to ban the president's accounts. They both have since reinstated his accounts. But it doesn't. But the funny thing is, Elon is absolutely shadow banning people. Just shadow banned Grimes for saying Grimes posted on X, "Hey Elon, you're ignoring me, and our kid has a medical issue. Please help." He just shadow banned her.
And the irony is,
That's legal, I guess.
well, private entities, the only entity that doesn't
they
have
can-
a right to censor
yeah.
you is the government.
Right. So they
That's
can.
they're the only
So
ones. That's what the First Amendment applies
We're
to.
defending his
Right.
right, however reprehensible, to do that.
Yeah, any platform can. I mean, they're not, like you said, they're not the government. They don't have the. They have the right to put what they want on their platform. But Section 230, if then we're going to end up saying, okay, well, anything that anyone says on your platform, you're responsible for. Well, then you're going to want to either shut down your platform or have much stronger moderation on your platform, because you can't, and that's going to cost, like you say, the small companies won't be able to do that. But the big tech companies don't want to moderate. They're trying to push further away from moderation in the interests of supporting the idea that, well, we promote free speech on our platforms. Anyone can say anything they want. But it's a mess, and it's not getting any clearer.
The other irony is that if the government is telling you that you must moderate or you must not moderate, that actually is a violation of the First Amendment, because the First Amendment only applies to government. Meta can do whatever it wants. It could moderate. It could not moderate. I mean, that's what private free speech is about. And these, I mean, so we're just mired with contradictions. The point about saying, you must moderate, but you can't moderate. The mere fact that the government's even getting involved in that conversation is arguably a violation of the First Amendment.
And I think even just taking a step back and looking at what social media has become and what it means to so many people, the reactions from both the left and the right about what should or shouldn't be on social media is a reflection of how powerful echo chambers have become and how people really just want to see content that reinforces what they already believe. And the fact that so many people on either side are unhappy, I think just from a societal reflection standpoint is really interesting about what we actually want when we go online. I think people are less receptive to alternative viewpoints. There's a lot of misinformation out there. I'm not saying things that there are things that need to be, I think getting rid of content moderators was an interesting choice. And I'm not sure how helpful that is. But, in general, when it comes to people presenting ideas, whether political or societal or otherwise, people don't want to see things that contradict how they see the world. And so it's trying to walk this line of how do you present enough ideas to people and create a space where people can maybe communicate with each other, but then also make sure that what they're accessing is real information and not misinformation and disinformation. So it's chaotic. I think social media has become so unenjoyable recently, I think because of that.
If you want to come over to my house and have a conversation about politics or religion or dress codes or whatever, fine. When you start calling each other names,
yeah, absolutely,
and then I'm going to kick you out of the house and ask you to stop talking.
Yeah,
and I don't know why private companies don't. They do have that right.
Well, I do that on our Mastodon server for sure, and I do that on our forums as well for sure. I try to preserve. We have rules. We have written rules that say, among other things, we want to have polite discourse. It's okay to disagree with somebody, but there's a limit, and I certainly will ban people for going across the limit, and I think that's my right and duty to do so.
Totally.
Last year, the Supreme Court, when asked about the Texas state law, which prohibited large social media companies from moderating posts based on a user's viewpoint, the Supreme Court said that the court has, quote, many times held in many contexts that it is no job for government to decide what counts as the right balance of private expression. It's not government's job to unbias what it thinks biased, rather than to leave such judgments to speakers and their audiences.
Right.
That principle works for social media platforms as it does for others. They were
only
pretty clear about that.
Was for a while public airways, but even that's been.
And that's only because you're using something that's owned by the public. You can't say the 7 dirty words, but I can on a podcast because I'm not using the airwaves.
Right.
I still don't, but that's another matter.
I don't, because I don't want to get
It's a private choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my choice. You can't force me to swear. You can't force me not to swear unless I'm using the public airwaves. Now, by the way, there are people at the FCC who would very much like to regulate podcasts. And that's what's next, but incidentally, this is an aim to control speech, not to make it. They say it's free speech. It's not. It's about controlling.
Well,
speech.
look what happened to the AP. They got banned from the White House press office because they choose to use the term Gulf of Mexico. And, that's
It'll always be the Gulf of Mexico to me.
Well, good luck getting into a White House press conference.
I will never be invited to a White House press conference. The FTC has a request for information. It's seeking public comment until May 21st. However, if you go there to say things like, let free speech rule, you're in trouble, because what are they asking for? They're looking for tech platform users who have been banned, shadow banned, demonetized, or otherwise censored. You're encouraged to share your comments. So it doesn't look like they're looking for anybody to defend free speech.
What a time to be alive. Yeah.
They're gonna do what they're gonna do, right? Brendan Carr, who's the new FCC chairman, has slammed big tech for censorship. He says that, quote, Facebook, Google, Apple, Microsoft, and others have played central roles in he says, censorship cartel, along with fact-checking groups and ad agencies that helped enforce one-sided narratives. By the way, the ad agencies bit comes from the fact that Elon Musk is suing advertisers because they decided not to put ads on X.
They're right of free speech.
I wish to God I could sue advertisers for not advertising on our podcast.
You'd be really wealthy.
Seems like a bad idea. It seems pretty almost whiny. Like, oh, you didn't have it.
Yeah, that'll make them come back.
What kind of thinking is that? All right. Anyway, we're going to take a break. Come back with more. I pray that Section 230 is not eliminated or modified. Certainly if it is, I will have to reconsider whether we have chats and forums and social media.
The irony
I can't afford to be sued.
There's a certain guy who happens to be in the White House right now that might have been kicked off some platforms if 230 hadn't been there. Because back when he was posting on the old Twitter, they could have sued the old Twitter for some of the horrible things that he said online.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so he should be careful.
Well, that's true. Section 230 is a knife that cuts both ways.
Absolutely.
Just as the First Amendment does. Somebody quite wise said, it doesn't mean anything to defend the First Amendment for people who are saying things you agree with. What really matters if you defend the right to speech for people you disagree with.
Absolutely.
It's probably somebody like Oliver Wendell Holmes or somebody like that. I don't know. I'll ask my AI. You're watching This Week in Tech. Great panel. We're getting ready to wrap it up pretty soon. You've been very patient. Abrar Al-Heeti, wonderful to have you. A regular and as many shows as we can get you on. Just think you're fantastic.
Honor. Thank you. That means a lot.
Technology reporter for CNET, of course. Same goes to you, Jennifer Pattison Tuohy. I think you're both. Are you not both regulars in Tech News Weekly? I think you are. Yes. Yeah.
We are co-hosts. Yes.
We are.
Yes. We love having you. And of course, Larry Magid and I are the old guys. I can say it. I'll say it now. I said it at the beginning of the show. I said I wouldn't say it in the show. The panel reminds me of the Saturday Night Live 50th anniversary audience, which was filled with old people, old guys with young, good-looking wives. It looks a little bit like that, but really, that's not the intention at all.
No.
We're glad to have you for your brains, right?
That's right.
This episode of This Week in Tech brought to you by ThreatLocker. I love these guys. This is something I really believe in, which is zero trust. Harden your security with ThreatLocker and never have to worry about zero-day exploits, supply chain attacks. Worldwide, companies like JetBlue trust ThreatLocker to secure their data and keep their business operations flying high. The whole idea is with ThreatLocker, you take a proactive, and this is the key, deny by default approach to cybersecurity. That means Just because somebody's in your network doesn't mean they're good guys. You block every action, every process, every user unless explicitly authorized by your team. ThreatLocker is easy. It's affordable. It protects you. It makes it easy to do this. And for compliance, it's fantastic. It gives you a full audit of every action. Not just compliance, risk management, because you know who's using what, when, and where. Complete log. Their 24/7 US-based support team fully supports your onboarding. They make it easy to get started and, of course, beyond. Stop the exploitation of trusted applications within your organization. Keep your business secure and protected from ransomware. See, if you think about it, a ransomware gang, once they get into your network, they then need access to all your apps, all your locations, all your files. And many, I have to say, many security systems just assume once you've penetrated the perimeter, you're good to go. Organizations across any industry can benefit from ThreatLocker's ring fencing. It isolates critical and trusted applications from unintended uses, from weaponization. It limits attackers' lateral movement within the network. Oh, and by the way, ThreatLocker works for Macs as well as PCs. Get unprecedented visibility and control of your cybersecurity quickly, easily, and cost-effectively with ThreatLocker's zero trust endpoint protection platform. You'll be amazed. I was shocked at how affordable it is. Everybody needs this. ThreatLocker.com. Visit them today. Get a free 30-day trial. Learn more about how ThreatLocker can help mitigate unknown threats and ensure compliance. That's a nice side effect. ThreatLocker.com. We thank them so much for their support of This Week in Tech. And by the way, you support us. If they ask you, tell them, yeah, we saw it on TWiT. Please. I'm excited about this. Maybe you saw it at CES. I don't know. Asus has released an Aromatic mouse.
So intrigued by this.
I forgot. Forgot to take it off there. There we go. This is the Fragrant mouse. Asus apparently not new to Asus. Even has a Fragrant laptop. This mouse has a little scent fragrance module. It comes in white and rose clay. I guess they figure nobody wants a black mouse, wants smells. Anyway, it's not. It's a fragrance producing mouse, which is it's got nice. It's like the G502 or the G Pro X, but which means it supports 10 million clicks and low noise levels. It doesn't require Logitech software. It has 3 DPI settings, 1200, 1600, and 2400. But you don't care about that. What you care about is that under the mouse, right behind the AA battery housing, is a small semi-translucent container designed to house oils that give the mouse a pleasing aroma.
I actually really want to try this.
I think it's a neat idea.
It smells good in here. What's going
It's
on?
hard to get your house smell nice.
Smell my mouse.
Put them everywhere.
It reminds me of this thing I tried out called Movie Scent, where while you're watching a movie, it'll release the sense of if there's a rain scene.
That's
and
cool.
then you smell you smell rain. So
smell-o-vision.
This,
the
exactly.
mouse could create smells related to what you were looking at.
That would be
That could
cool.
either be really wonderful.
I don't think I want that.
Depending on what you're looking at.
There's no limit to what scents can be used because the container can be washed and refilled with different scents. Asus also makes an aroma dispensing laptop that has a fragrance dispenser.
That was at CES. Yeah, I remember our laptop reviewer was walking around sniffing it.
It came with 3 fragrances. Be a New Her.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that one.
Be a New Her.
That's my favorite aroma.
Oh, and here's a combination you're dying for. Basil and mandarin.
It kind of reminds me of Joe Malone scents. It sounds weird, but it'll be orange bitters and something. And you're okay, sure. So, but I don't know. Maybe it's some things that's supposed to.
I like the smell of basil, or as you might say, basil. I don't know. Do you say basil in the UK for the herb?
Basil, yes.
Basil. That's also a man's name, which is why I prefer basil, because then that's the herb. And basil, like Basil Rathbone, that's the man's name. Anyway, confusing. Well, how do you say mandarin? You say mandarin? No.
Mandarin.
Just
Mandarin.
Okay. And that's
this
an
is
orange.
like the scene from Love Actually. Bottle?
Great movie, by the way. I watch that every Christmas. What a great,
too.
that's the best Christmas movie ever. And then there's another one called, I don't know what I guess it smells like roses. Rose of Man's Land.
Yeah, that one I want to smell. That sounds lovely. It's weird, but
I don't
lovely.
know.
I don't know.
I'm going to pass on that one, Leo. I don't know.
If it were Rose of Man's Pants or something, then I wouldn't. But what is man's land? I don't.
I never understand why people buy cologne from athletes. Like, do athletes actually smell good?
No.
If a guy's playing basketball for 4 hours, you want to smell him?
This is like robot vacuums have little fragrance. Some robot vacuums have little fragrance things.
Well,
in
that
them
makes
too.
sense. They pick up a lot
That
of
makes
dirt.
sense.
That makes
Yeah.
Whenever I get my car washed, they say, "Do you want scent?" I say, "No." God, no. What are you doing? No.
My Roomba sometimes smells after a job. I mean, not a good smell.
Oh, it's true.
Yeah.
It can smell a little funky.
Dusty.
Yeah.
It smells like money.
You know,
We should have money scents. Now that I would go for. We're gonna have cash. Anyway.
What does Venmo smell like, though?
this mouse kind of makes me think about, how you associate smells with moments. So is it just going to remind you of work every day? Like you use your mouse and you're like, that's the work smell. Like what?
Oh,
like,
that's
what I
true.
mean? Like,
You have a stronger memory for scents than almost anything else, right?
So you might never want to smell it unless you're actually like.
I remember Jeff Bezos years ago. I was listening to him give a talk about the smell of books and how people love the smell of books. And he said, it's not that books inherently smell good. It's just we associate them
Right, with positive.
pleasant, way of reading.
Yeah.
Here's a picture. For some reason, of a shadow of a guy dangling his keys over the mouse.
Is-
I don't.
Or is that
a
like a scent dropper?
Oh, it's a scent dropper.
Yes.
So one more
Iridescent
thing
white
to have
rose
to
or
do, you
clay.
now have to feed your mouse essential oils.
You do.
Now, is that something that Elon will cut out of the work schedule as, inappropriate for federal employees to be taking time putting
Tell me if your mouse smells.
Yeah.
Let's see. Boy, I think we run out of stories. Let me do. I can't believe it. We've
Well, we didn't talk about the iPhone.
iPhone SE.
Oh God, the biggest story. All right, let me take a break. And the biggest story of the day. I didn't even do it. What is wrong with me?
Best for last. No, it's so that you can
save
choose
it
the
for last.
title.
Everyone has to listen the whole way through.
Man, you're going to talk
you're
about the
doing.
new iPhone. I'm dying to hear it. You're going to be disappointed. That's all I can say. But we will talk about. Apple announced a new iPhone this week.
That's right.
And I think you can order it this coming week for delivery. I don't know. We'll get the details in a bit. Yeah.
I think it went up for order on Friday.
Yeah, it'll
Did it? Oh,
it'll
good.
go
All
on
right.
sale. This
Did you?
Friday.
Well, I'll save this because I've got to do an ad. And then the moment you've all been waiting for.
The whole show.
For the whole show, the one big story of the week. Our show today brought to you. Thank you for reminding me. Gosh, holy moly. And I was going to get you to go home early. Our show this week brought to you by Melissa, the trusted data expert since 1985. If you've got a business, you've got important, valuable information in your contact list, your suppliers, your customers, right? But it deteriorates over time. People move, names change, phone numbers change, and sometimes the worst, they're entered wrong to begin with. Melissa's AI-enabled data quality solutions go far beyond just simple address verification. For 4 decades, they are leveraging 4 decades of accumulated data knowledge, advanced machine reasoning, and by the way, they are very much in the 21st century. Melissa's been acquiring AI companies and really getting the smartest minds to work on this cutting-edge AI that takes that raw data and transforms it into reliable, actionable insights for your business. Melissa's ability to enrich and cleanse data spans multiple industries. In fact, if you look at the website, you'll see they have specific tools for fintech, for healthcare, for government, for education, for real estate, and on and on and on. But those are all areas where having accurate address records is pretty darn important. Melissa's suite of verification and cleansing services will benefit any business that doesn't want to act as its own data scientist. In fact, I had a great phone call with a data scientist who works at Melissa. In fact, we're going to get them on Intelligent Machines. These guys are really interesting, really smart. Whatever business rules, very important, right? being able to have an AI apply your business rules to a data set, whatever rules your business operates within, Melissa is there to support you. It's like having a data expert that never sleeps. Melissa's intelligent system will verify identity, which is very important in preventing fraud in things like gaming operations. They ensure valid patient and medicine identification in healthcare systems. I mean, among other things, they actually can identify if there's an error in prescriptions. That's something you really want to get right. They can securely update and verify constituent data across government databases. These are all applications Melissa currently has in operation. And of course, many of us are subject to the Know Your Customer and Know Your Business regulations. Know Your Business enables verification and monitoring for financial institutions. This is a legal requirement. Melissa makes it easy. Melissa guides you through complex data management with ease, making advanced data quality accessible to everyone, from small businesses to enterprises and even to governments. With real-time data validation, comprehensive enrichment, cross-reference verification with gold standard reference data, and intelligent anomaly detection. In fact, that's one of the things AI is really good at. It's no wonder Melissa is the trusted data quality expert worldwide. And don't worry about your data. Melissa holds it like the gold that it is. They securely encrypt all file transfers. They have an information security ecosystem built on the ISO 27001 framework. They adhere to GDPR policies. They comply with SOC 2. They treat your data like the precious entity it is. Contact Melissa's team to find out what they can do to elevate your business and evolve your data quality. Really smart people who can help you get the job done. Get started today. 1,000 records clean for free. Melissa.com/twit. That's MELISSA.com/twit. Really interesting business that has evolved over 4 decades to provide the tools that every business needs. Melissa.com/twit. We thank them so much for their support. Longtime support. Very happy to be partners with Melissa. All right. There's a new iPhone in town. It is not cheap. I think the first kind of the top line point that I noticed was they've gone from $429 for the least expensive iPhone SE, which is now, 3 or 4 years old, to $599.
That's not cheap.
My colleague had an article go up, but my colleague David Lum, that says the E in iPhone 16e might as well stand for expensive. And I feel like Apple really walked into that one because why is it that price?
I don't know what the E stands for. But that's an important point because they don't now have a low-cost phone. And for many markets like India, China, they're going to basically be aced out of those markets. They don't have an offering.
And it's interesting that the priority was more, let's pack in more of our advanced features like Apple Intelligence, regardless of what that means for price, rather than focusing on price, which I think was what was so, alluring about the SE line in general. And so to then switch up the priorities to say, well, but look at all these features you get, and you get an action button. It's like, okay, but why is it so much money?
It seems like it was pretty clear that they wanted to have Apple Intelligence available across the whole line.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that making another $429 iPhone SE wouldn't be possible.
Yeah. And so there's that shift in priorities, right? AI matters more than anything else.
Interesting.
And by the way, in addition to all those developing countries you mentioned, I would add American families to the
Kids.
list of people who can't afford it. I mean, that's a lot of money you got 2 kids, 3 kids, 5 people in the family. That's $3,000 just for basic phones to start with.
Do you think Apple, this is really interesting to me. Apple must have researched this. Do you think they've maybe decided that the value proposition of an iPhone is sufficient to overcome its extra cost?
Well, Steve Jobs would have felt that way.
And what's interesting?
Yeah.
Like what people care about the most with phones, for the most part, are cameras and battery life. And so they've touted the battery life a lot. But, it's still one camera, and it's a good camera. 48 megapixel, it should be pretty decent. But it's, there is the Apple factor that comes in here, where if it's something that's made by Apple, you think, okay, it's worth the money, it's worth the premium. But it's not a premium device compared to, you know, other devices that you pay $200 more and you get the baseline iPhone 16. It's this weird, really awkward middle, you know, pricing tier. And I'm really curious how consumers will actually respond to it.
They did drop a lot of the older phones, so it's not like they have a whole bunch of less expensive older phones. A couple of people in the YouTube are pointing out maybe they padded it in anticipation of tariffs.
Tariffs, that's what I'd heard people say. Yeah, that maybe it was going to be cheaper. And because losing that 429 in the lineup, but that only came in a few years ago. So for a long time,
There've
didn't
only
really
been
have
3
it cheap.
SEs. Yeah. Yeah.
And my daughter has the SE, and it was the first time I actually had to buy a phone for her. Normally, my kids would get my hand-me-downs, and that's also probably what happens with a lot of families is the hand-me-downs. But the thing that I was surprised is if they were going to go with a more expensive phone and go with all the extra features, you know, Apple Intelligence, the better camera, why no MagSafe? Why no UWB radio? And why no Thread? But that's because I'm a smart home person. But it's like if this is meant to be the bottom level to bring people in, and you've got all these new technologies that Apple's championing. Sorry, it's late, and I haven't had my glass of wine yet.
Oh my goodness! Go get your glass of wine by all means. You're the one who said we had to cover the iPhone. It's your fault.
But why not? If it wasn't really the cheap phone, why did they leave out some of these key technologies?
You could argue that UWB might be really much more useful than Apple Intelligence. That's the thing that lets you point your phone to find your keys, right?
And your AirTag, and then the new smart unlocking that they're bringing to door locks.
That's right.
UWB
There's all this
based.
new home hardware that will use UWB.
Yeah.
So I'll walk up to the door and it'll unlock because it sees me coming.
Yeah. Although you can still use the NFC, the tap to unlock, so that it's not like they wouldn't be able to use it. But
I really, you know, my car, because I have a BMW that supports Apple's car key, I just walk up to the car, it unlocks, says hello, plays some tunes, stuff like that. And I wanted that for the door instead of having to tap this.
Right. And it's not in the 16E.
Oh, Leo, poor guy. You have to tap your phone to open the door. Oh, my God.
It wasn't Bluetooth LE. It's not BLE. It's UWB that makes that possible.
Yes.
Okay.
That's so currently there are smart locks that use BLE and Wi-Fi and GPS, three triangulation locations.
But it's not perfect.
It's not. It's very bad.
Yeah.
Unless you're super lucky and you have really good service and all the stars align and you have the app open running on your phone. That's the other thing. Whereas UWB is just going to be a simple radio to radio communication from your phone to your lock, just like it is for your car, and going to make auto unlock, just hands-free unlock, simple and work, which it hasn't really to date.
I have to tell you, I will vouch for that because I had a Mustang Mach-E that used those older technologies, and half the time it wouldn't open. And I actually got locked out of my car once because I was waving the phone and tapping it, and nothing worked.
Because that Bluetooth works with the Tesla flawlessly. I mean, I never have to take
really.
it out of my pocket.
Yeah, actually, come to think of it, I never had a problem with the Tesla.
Yeah,
but for some reason the Mustang did.
And, for door lock, you've got, because the UWB really helps with location too. So it makes sure it knows you're not inside the house to unlock. It'll only unlock if you're outside, which you definitely want.
That's a good idea.
That doesn't matter so much for your car because you're
you walk by the front door, let's unlock it.
Well, the one thing in the car that I don't like is it unlocks all the doors, which means if a thief wants to get into my car when I get near it, there is that possibility.
You and I must have a disaster mentality because for some reason I always envision me running to the car to escape thugs and I want to get in quickly, but I don't want them to get in.
Exactly.
What is wrong with us, Larry? Has that ever happened to you?
My old Prius, my 2012 Prius, when you unlocked the door, it only unlocked the driver's door unless you hit the button twice.
Yeah, that's the right
made
way.
A lot of sense.
Yeah, that's the right way to do it.
Yeah.
It also doesn't have, and I don't think anybody cares, the dynamic island.
I love Dynamic Island. Okay, I will be.
Is that a new show on CBS or is that?
They used to be on Saturday Night Live, didn't they? Oh no, that was Lonely Island. So I do think, and I don't know if it's related to Dynamic Island. I like the live activities.
Yes.
Is that related?
Yeah, I don't think you can get it without the dynamic island.
So that's nice. Like when I was watching the football, the Niners football, it would show the score in real time in a big box on the bottom of the phone, and I have Carrot Weather will tell me, it's rain. It's going to start raining any minute now, and things like that. I like the
when your
live
phone gets wet,
activities.
it's raining. I'm sorry.
Just hold it out, and if there's drops, it's raining.
It's interesting.
As you said, it doesn't have MagSafe, but it does have standard Qi charging, so it does do wireless, just a little slower.
Yeah, but
I guess the
MagSafe
theory is if you're buying the cheaper iPhone, you're not going to have a UWB.
But it's not that much cheaper. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I saw Scooter X dropped a link in the chat about why you shouldn't buy the 15, but I'm seriously tempted by the 15 over the 16E for my daughter. My daughter needs an upgrade. It's $100 more, but you get all of those things that are missing, other than you don't get Apple Intelligence, but I don't really need Apple Intelligence.
Yeah, this is Zach Hall's piece in 9 to 5 Mac, why you really shouldn't buy this iPhone.
But you get Dynamic Island, you get the UWB, you get
so spend $100 more,
and you get a lot more, and you get the MagSafe, but you don't get Apple Intelligence.
Well, don't you
right?
feel like this is like the classic Apple strategy of let's take the lowest price thing and only make it a little bit less expensive than the next level so that people just pay more for that next level thing. It's really Apple's formula. And
that's right. The problem is then you have to buy the most expensive.
Yeah. And they win.
That's true in every level, yeah.
Yep.
They're slowly moving you up the ladder, right? Well, I don't want to be in the bottom rung.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe the next one up. Well, but if I'm going to spend that much, you might as well spend another $100 and get Apple Intelligence.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One thing Apple is doing apparently is binning its A18 chip. So it has the same chip that's in the iPhone Pros, but it isn't exactly the same. It's missing one GPU. And what that tells us is that these are all the same chip. TSMC's making these A18s, but every once in a while, probably more often than not, one comes through with some broken component, like missing GPU core, and they bin that. They throw that in a bin, and that's what they're putting in the iPhone SE.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's a long-standing process in the chip industry where you test the chips and you bin them. They're all come from the same wafer, but some chips don't run at the full clock speed or get too hot and so forth. And so you bin them, and that gives you, and this is what Apple wants, a way to sell these lower binned, less capable chips. So that's, maybe that's why.
Now this has, speaking of chips, so this has the C1, right? Which I know nothing about, but I'm sure you guys do.
The most interesting thing, we'll talk about that a lot on Mac Break Weekly, but Apple has been in the thrall of Qualcomm all this time for its modem chip. They actually went to Intel and had Intel build a modem chip that was so bad, they put it in some of their phones, and it was so bad they had to throttle the Qualcomm modem so that it wouldn't look like some phones were twice as fast as others, depending on which chip they got. They stopped buying chips from Intel. They still buy them from Qualcomm for all the other ones. This is the first time at Apple, and they spent billions of dollars and hired many, many people to make this C1 chip. This is the first phone with a C1 chip. It'll be very interesting to see reviewers.
Yeah.
I'd really curious what the speeds are going to be. Yeah. It's data speed that will suffer.
Will this phone have satellite communications?
Yes.
Well, that's important. That's a good.
That's universal now. Yeah.
But no millimeter wave.
Like anybody cares. This is the 5G that's always, they say, look how fast 5G is, but you have to live within 3 blocks of a millimeter wave antenna, which means you're either in downtown New York or downtown Philadelphia. It's not very widespread. Or in a football stadium. Apparently they put them in football stadiums. So I don't think that's a big loss. Yeah. I don't think, who cares, right? There you go. That's the story of the week.
You made it.
Were you going to talk about your smart ring?
Oh yeah, I just got this thing. It's not the Aura that everybody has. It's the Ringcon, which is the only major difference is you don't have to pay it's $8 a month or whatever it is to use it.
Yeah, I pay a subscription I have the Aura 4. I've had every Aura. We got to know the creators of the Aura back in the day. They were on our show, the new Screensavers, and so I got one then, and I've worn it ever since. They're of dubious value. I'll be
What's
honest.
weird about it, Julia, so I have, I mean, this is kind of TMI. I've got my smartwatch. I've got my Fitbit on the phone. I've got my Ring.
Exactly.
I've got my smart bed. I've got my Nest radar system that somehow tracks my sleep. And they all disagree.
Yeah, I agree.
My SPO2 is all over the map. And, you know,
by the way,
yeah.
what good is it when you told you had a terrible night's sleep, which is pretty much what it tells me every freaking night? How does that help me in any way? It just makes me feel bad.
In theory, you're supposed to think back about what your night was the night before. Did you drink too much? Did you watch TV till late?
I do the same thing every time.
Yeah, I know.
I got a 69 sleep score last night.
I think I beat you. We can compete on this one.
I can see what I got.
My wife Lisa used to do that. She said, because we had the Serta sleeper or whatever. They had the pads under the bed.
I've got one of those, yeah.
And Philippe Kahn created that company, you know. Anyway, there's a name from the past. Remember him?
No, I have his current bed. I've got the Tempur-Pedic.
Tempur-Pedic, yeah.
I've got Philippe's bed.
Anyway, Philippe's
the reason why I have sleep apnea, or the reason I know I have sleep apnea.
Well, actually, that's one thing that's useful. The Aura did tell me that I occasionally have some breathing problems, but not sleep apnea.
That's good. Congratulations.
Some variation in your blood oxygen levels are detected. This can indicate that you experienced occasional breathing disturbances in your sleep, but not enough to say I got to get a CPAP or something. So that's, I guess, useful. But honestly, the rest of it...
I was 69 last night, too. I think we tied.
My wife used to do this with the sleep thing in the bed. She said, what was your sleep score? I said, 70. She got 85.
My wife always gets better than I do.
She would compete with me.
She always beats me on the sleep score.
Yeah, well, Lisa always beats me too. She sleeps very well.
Sometimes I get up early and she goes over to my side of the bed, so I'm thinking that maybe, it's getting mixed up here.
Yeah, well, that's why I wear the Ring, man.
And I wonder when somebody's gonna, be on vacation or be on a business trip and notice that someone slept on their side of the bed. And it wasn't them.
There used to be a setting where you could say, my dog slept there after I got up. Right. So this is supposed to have the Aura is only maybe 4 or 5 days. You get three times
that. 10 days. It seems to work about 8 or 10 days. It does tell you your apnea index, but again, it's not necessarily, it tends to go, if my apnea index, according to my CPAP machine, is high, this is going to be high. If it's low, this is going to be low.
Okay.
But they're never the same number. They tend to go together. And it does tell you your SPO2, which is all over the map and doesn't necessarily agree. I actually have, if I want to wear it, a WellU, which is a kind of a medical grade.
Yeah, I bought one of those during COVID to see if I was dying.
It tends to go in the same direction of that, but not the same. So
it's interesting that they're directionally matched, but not quantitatively.
Exactly. If one is high, the other is going to be higher. But, I have to question whether or not how useful all of this information really is. I don't think it's made me any healthier. In fact, it's probably made me even more neurotic than I would.
That's what it does. It makes you crazy.
Yeah. I think
Do you, Jennifer or Abrar, have any of this good stuff?
I got nothing. I'm living in.
You're living blissfully ignorant.
Unquantified self.
Oh, God, it's the best self. You know what?
How do you know if you feel good?
How do you know if you're happy or anything? I don't know.
A mood ring. You just wear a mood ring.
Tell me.
And it turns blue and you're sad and then you're no.
I think the unquantified
it's kind of
self
like holding the
best.
iPhone up to know if it's raining. You don't need to look at the screen. Just look if it's wet. You feel good. You feel good.
If I wake up and I'm tired, then I know.
It does. But look, in all fairness, there are people who are alive today because Apple told them that they were having
the watch is good.
Right.
Look, I wear an Apple Watch and I'm very happy with that. I think that is very useful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I either wear the watch and I have a sleep number bed. I haven't done the ring. I'm just not interested in the rings.
What I like about the ring is you don't have to I'm going on a business trip next week and I don't have to bring a charger with me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's nice.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
But that's
good. You don't have to charge this useless thing that you don't really.
I was going to say, I don't have to charge my jewelry either.
And Abrar, you don't have to charge either, right?
Amazing.
Wow, you mean your jewelry works without being plugged in?
It's miraculous.
Jeez Louise. Yeah. I like the unquantified self. That's my new goal, to live the unquantified
Why don't we need to
self.
show that?
I think I am.
think so, too.
Forget Musk.
Right?
Abrar Al-Heeti, such a pleasure. Thank you so much. Abrar, of course,
Thank you.
works at CNET. You'll read her writings there, and of course appears on once a month on Tech News Weekly. We love having you on.
Thank you for having
Anything
me.
you want to plug?
No, I mean, you can follow me on X, Al-Heeti _3, or on Instagram.
You haven't left X, huh?
No, I haven't. I don't post as much, but I think some people are really funny on there, so I'm still on there. But yeah, I don't really share that.
I'm
much.
increasingly feeling like being on X is kind of feeding the animal.
If you want to feel doomsday, it's a great place to go. Highly recommend. But
we stream on X. There's 387 people watching.
There you go. Hello,
right
everyone.
now.
So you're still on there. Yeah. So. But yeah, also on Instagram, Abrar Al-Heeti. And that's
Zuckerberg is so much better than Musk.
You don't skeet?
I don't. I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
You're not on Blue Sky?
Oh, is that what people are calling it? I am on Blue Sky. I've never posted. I should probably do that, but it's just another account, and there's too many. I'm on TikTok. I think TikTok's my favorite. I don't do anything work related on there though. So, but you could find me on there.
And I have one more question.
Yeah.
Are those little fishes on your scarf?
They are
headscarf?
flowers. I wish they were fishes. Now I need to get fishes, but these are just flowers.
Oh, they're pretty little flowers.
Yeah.
But fishes, yeah.
That would be a good one.
Yeah.
I'm going to
I don't
work
know
on
why
that.
I said that. I have Mexican hats on
I
my
love
shirt.
it. Your
which
shirts
is
are
a
always
little
fantastic.
strange.
I love it.
Thank you for being here, Abrar.
Thank you for having
really
me.
great to have you.
Always a pleasure.
Ditto JPT, Jennifer, Pattison, Tuohy. Love having you on. Smart Home Mama on the what? Blue Sky, Twitter?
That is
Insta?
Threads.
Threads.
And then I'm at JP2E everywhere else. The only reason I'm not on Threads because
That's your
that
Instagram
was my
handle. That's why.
But at JP2E is my personal account. Smart Home Mama was my work one. But Smart Home Mama on Threads and at JP2E everywhere else. And I'm still on X. Don't really post, but still. And then I'm on I skeet. I do skeet quite a bit actually.
I like skeeting. Skeeting's great.
I'm on Mastodon. I'm on them all because you kind of have to be in this job. But then next week on Wednesday I will be live tweeting. No, I won't be live tweeting. I will be live blogging, that old-fashioned thing, the Amazon event. If you
I'm
want,
so thrilled to hear that you're going to cover that. Do you have to go to Seattle for that?
It's in New York.
Oh, nice.
Which is very exciting. The last event was in DC at their new headquarters, and the one in 2023. That was a little easier for me. But New York's not too far from
here. You take the Excella? How are you going to get up there?
Fly
in an aeroplane. You are a brave soul.
I'm quite brave right now.
Just don't fly at a national, okay?
For helicopters.
But yes,
wow.
I've got the three of us from The Verge will be there live blogging. So verge.com if you want to find out about the new Alexa.
Yeah, that
on
drives
Wednesday.
me crazy that they don't stream it. I would love to cover it. Well, good. We'll watch you on The Verge and keep up and let us know how often Panos Panay says pumped. Okay.
Okay. We'll keep a running score.
I want the pumped count.
Okay.
Thank you, Jennifer. Great to see you. Larry Magid, connectsafely.org. You've always got stuff going on there. What's the latest from Connect Safely?
Well, we just had our Safer Internet Day event in Sacramento. And
that was on the 11th. Yes, I'm sorry.
On the 11th, and that went well. What do we got? Let me. I haven't been on the site today. I mean, see what we're featuring. We probably have an update. Ask Trisha Prabhu, what is DeepSeek? She writes a column for young people. She's our youth advisor for kids.
Nice.
And we have we have a youth advisory board. So our one of our other young people wrote Pixels, Prompts, and Policy. And
AI through a youth lens.
Yeah, what's the difference between a news outlet and a news influencer? One of our people wrote.
See, this is great. And it's young people talking to young people, helping them navigate this crazy world. And you and I, we didn't grow up with this. It's a very different world for us than it is for them.
Very different. I have a piece about DeepSeek, which is, I actually think it's pretty good, but I will not give it any personal information. It doesn't know my medical history.
Did you see that Grok, which is, Elon spent a lot of money for 100,000 NVIDIA H100 GPUs, going to 200,000 soon. It's just down the road from you, I think, actually, Jennifer. So it's the most expensive trained AI ever.
I know where you're going with this. Okay, let's hear it.
But it isn't uncensored, and I thought that was very interesting.
Well, I think it is now.
Did they change it? Because somebody posted.
Right. You know what the question? Somebody asked who should be murdered or something like that.
No. The simple question of who posts the most disinformation on X.
Right.
Yeah.
And one of the things that Grok will do, as all of these new deep research tools like DeepSeek do, is show you its thought process. And one of the first things it says is, well, I'd like to say Elon Musk or Donald Trump, but I'm prohibited from saying that.
Wow.
So then it continues on and it comes up and says, it really is Elon and Donald, but I can't say that. So I'm just going to say I can't answer that question.
But it told you that.
But unfortunately, because it's showing you the thought process,
It's like a toddler.
I'm sure they fixed that since then.
It's like when a kid isn't supposed to say something.
Well, that was worth all that money in GPUs. Just
Well, and DeepSeek, you can't, if you're using the one that's sourced in China, it won't talk about Tiananmen Square, but because DeepSeek is open source, there are other people running it in the US. I use it on Perplexity, for instance, and you can ask it about Tiananmen. I actually just said, is there a famous photo of a man standing in front of a tank? And it said, oh yeah, that's the Tiananmen Square, tank man photo, and explained the whole story behind it. So it's not prohibited. It's just that the app in China blocks it.
Even when I was using it at the very beginning, when it was blocking Tiananmen Square, it told me all about Hong Kong.
Interesting.
I ran it by an expert, a friend of mine who's an expert about Hong Kong, and he said, "Yeah, it got it right. It was pretty objective."
Interesting.
So, but again,
it's hard to censor these things. They really want to tell you what they know, and I like that about them.
Interesting.
Yeah. Thank you, Larry. Great to have you. Thanks to all three of you. Really a fun show. We do TWiT, and you can, as I mentioned, watch us live every Sunday afternoon, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, the middle of the night for Jennifer Pattison Tuohy. No, it just feels that way, JPT. Just feels that way. That's 2200 UTC. Watch live on all of those 8 platforms, but you don't have to because it's a podcast. You can always download a copy of the show after we edit it up on the TWiT website, twit.tv. There's a YouTube channel dedicated to the video, and you can subscribe to audio or video of the show in your favorite podcast client. We've been doing this for 20 years. If your podcast client doesn't know what TWiT is, it's not a very good podcast client.
And Leo, unlike Saturday Night Live, you and I were here for our intellect, not our good looks.
Very clearly.
Yeah.
Or our sense of humor.
Yeah, I was going to say your humor, obviously, yes.
Yeah, we're here for the jokes. No. No.
And everybody's here for their intellect.
We'll see you. We'll see you next week. I thank you all for being here. And as I've said for now, 20 years, our 20th anniversary is in April. It's coming up.
Wow.
Another, I know, isn't that amazing? And I don't
old.
look a day older, which is, I don't know how I'm doing that one.
Fabulous.
Another TWiT is in the can. Bye-bye, everybody.